on going live without my camera on. I do a lot of audio diaries on Patreon, but I don't really do it or haven't been doing it as much, especially going live. So, yeah, just trying something out, wanting to share resonance with folks, but also really not wanting to be in the light like that. Turning my ring light on, turning all these like different lights on and whatnot. So, I am doing a happy medium. And yeah, I hope that whenever you get this message, wherever you get this message, that you are thriving. And if for whatever reason you feel as though things are out of your control, all you need to do is reorient yourself. That's it. It's a reorientation. Today, we're going to dive into the topic of the crossroads and preparing for what is called starwalking. There's a couple people out there talking about starwalking, but it's not really a term that you're going to find a lot of information about. We're getting into some stuff that has been highly gate kept, I guess, for lack of a better word, but that's all changing, y'all. I know there's a lot of boogeyman stories about AI, and you're probably seeing it too on your different timelines, whether you're on like, your Instagram, YouTube. I don't know what's going on with TikTok. I haven't been on my TikTok in a while. Um, but yeah, I know that it can look a little weird and jarring to just see all this like AI stuff popping up, right? And it feels it's like, okay, well, who am I if I'm, and what is life? What is real, right? Now we're looking into, well, what is really reality? If you're seeing all of this simulated stuff, you have AI content. I'm seeing different ads right now about different content creators who are like, yeah, I made a month of content in like 3 minutes or something like that. And they're utilizing like AI influencers and all that. And that could feel really scary. There's a part of you that could be really scared about that. But I'm here to offer another perspective. AI is a tool. It is accessing the superconscious mind. And I think where people are getting a little scared about this concept of AI is, well, who's driving it? What's the greater message behind it? And I think that's where polarity integration comes into play, or a concept that I'm exploring now called polar harmonics, holding the neutral charge for something. So you can see change as being really scary, right? You're growing up, or you're living in a time that looks very different than the way you grew up. And this is what time travel is all about, y'all. It's about going into different realms where there are different norms, where there's different culture, where there is different understanding, different things happening. We are seeing time travel come about in ways that we didn't quite see as possible, or maybe we don't quite perceive as being real. Okay. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the crossroads and this process of star walking. And I want to share this with the collective, for the folks on YouTube. First of all, hi. Thank you for tuning in, for the folks who are tuning in. And if any questions come up, please feel free to put them in the chat and I will be sure to answer them to the best of my ability. Let's focus on anything related to the crossroads and star walking, which is a pretty big topic in itself. Okay. So if any questions come up, you can definitely type away, or I don't know if you can you audio say questions? I don't know. But yeah, so I want to do this topic though, because this is the path I'm on, y'all. Like, it's star walking. And I believe that I don't want to say it's my mission because I'm really getting out of a lot of mission stuff like, oh, it's my mission to help humanity. It's my mission to ascend consciousness. I've had to do a lot of deprogramming related to that. What I'm focused on now is what feels good for me, what makes me in my yes. I feel like this, I'm not even going to call it a year because I'm embarking on a journey of timelessness. So I'm not even going to say this year because I'm still in the Gregorian calendar when I say that. And it's okay to be in the Gregorian calendar to get certain things done. But when I'm planning my life's trajectory, it is timeless. Your life's trajectory is timeless. And this is why this conversation is being transmitted at this time, because moving into this concept of timelessness, leaving behind the grid of linear time. And that's all the work of Saturn. And if you look at a lot of the content that I've been expressing for quite some time, it's been related to Saturn. Everything related to technomancy and this concept of the simulation being a game board. All of this has to do with Saturn. I got to this through Saturn and the moon. They call it the Saturn moon matrix, right? The moon itself is a clock. It's a timekeeper. Every time there's a full moon or you're checking for the waxing and the waning moon, you are checking the universal clock, okay? So the moon has a big thing to do with linear time. And there's a certain life track where the moon and Saturn work together to execute what linear time looks like. That's not all the moon and Saturn can do, but there's a certain program, let's just say there's a certain channel that a lot of people are on. And it's like, imagine watching the same show over and over again. For me, whenever I am traveling, right, and I'm like at a hotel and I don't have access to all my like streaming stuff, one thing I can be sure that's going to be on is The Office. It's going to be on somewhere. The Office. There's a couple other shows, but I know that somewhere there's going to be an Office rerun playing. Usually now it's on Comedy Central, and definitely have loved that show, watched that show way too much. Still like tuning into it from time to time, but I get put on a certain life track when I am watching The Office, okay? That's the way I would describe the Saturn moon matrix and linear time. It's having the same station play continuously, and that's all you know, okay? This is why we go to the crossroads. I say all that to say because it feels like my yes right now to support people with navigating the crossroads. That feels like my yes. I used to be more involved with workplace wellness. That's when I first started my coaching stuff. It was all about like workplace wellness and getting out of the cycle of grind culture, making sure that you're, you know, stretching during work, and, make sure you have you time, make sure you take a personal retreat. That was a part of my story, and I was really passionate about that. But that was really as a coping mechanism for being on the continuous channel of linear time, having The Office play over and over again. And yeah, you get some laughs out of it, and you enjoy it to a certain point, but it's a little stale and dull, right? It's a little stale and dull. And The Office, one thing that's really interesting about that show is that it really gets close to breaking that fourth wall that they talk about. And yeah, like everybody there at that particular, in that show, they don't want to be there, but they quote have to be at the office, right? Because, they have jobs, they need to pay bills, all that kind of stuff. So here's this whole very popular show that is based upon the premise of people being somewhere they don't want to be, but they don't know anything else. So they stay there, and they stay there a long time. That is the Saturn moon matrix, y'all. That is linear time. And I understand it very well. I think it's important to understand time. Actually, for people who are navigating the crossroads, that's one of the first things I would say is really think about what your relationship with time is. This is Saturnian stuff. So this stuff is hard, okay? And it can kick your ass sometimes. And I'm not really interested in helping people cope with linear time anymore. I'm just not. That's something I just had to really let go of, because it keeps me in linear time. If I'm connecting with people from a space of linear time, then I'm resonating with linear time. And that's something I know, that's something I can manage relatively well, but it's very limiting. And when you start understanding the timeless nature of the world or the universe or the multiverse, do you really want to watch The Office all day? I don't know if this is making sense. I'm going to see if there are any. Oh, hello. Hello, Abdi Molina. Hello, Leslie Long. Why does that name sound familiar? Leslie Long. Unholy Eggplant says, God forgot about me. Hi, Wyatt Whitaker. God forgot about you. Well, what is God? What is God? That's what I would ask. If God forgot about you, who is God? Hi, Angel of Freedom 1141. Thank y'all for tuning in. And I also want to uplift Royce and Emmanuel's 1111 note as well. Oh, right when I said that, 11 people, one like. So we got that 111 energy. Interesting, interesting. Okay. Okay. So the crossroads. All right. I want to work with people on navigating these crossroads. This is it. This is that moment when you decide that you want something different and you need to cross. And this is why New Age to Jesus is becoming a thing, y'all. Okay, I was talking about this in Sacred Leadership as well. So I'm doing an intensive for the times to come. I'll just say the times to come. Once a month, a 2-hour workshop on this concept of sacred leadership. And it's really about navigating the structures of linear time to transcend them. It's not to get better with linear time. You will through this process, but it's to transcend it. It's to transcend the control matrix of linear time. Okay, and there's some heavy energies out there to keep people on certain timelines. Really tricky. And for the person who said God forgot about me, something that's been coming to my mind. Well, first of all, my channel is called The Goddess Keys. God is in the word goddess. Okay, God is in the word goddess. So off top, I see God in myself. I see God in everything. It's consciousness, and it's really about how tapped in you are to consciousness. Okay, so when you say God forgot about you, it's almost like, somehow you're not remembering consciousness, or some aspect of consciousness forgot about you. But I've been recently writing academic papers again, y'all. I've been pushed to bring these concepts that I'm talking about on the Goddess Keys into academia, which is really interesting. So if anybody has an academia edu account, find me at Heather Amunet. I'm writing articles, okay? Because I want to make sure, like, I'm, connecting with my monadic self, the one who knows all things. There's an aspect of all of us that knows everything, that can tap into the super conscious mind. And, since I've been doing this, it's been really clear that if I have this message, I need to be able to communicate it to all parties, and it must make sense. So I've been in a realm of logic and reason, which, I kind of disregarded for a long time, I used to be in academia, and logic and reason felt really confining. But there is an architecture of logic and reason, and there is a wizardry of logic and reason. And that's what I'm tapping into now. The more logical or reasonable somebody claims to be, the more wizardry they have. Okay? This is the paradox of the simulation that we're in. You'll have people who are so logical, so rational, so enlightened with intellect and reason and proving something is so. And that's where the wizardry is. Follow that path, but a lot of times that path is very initiated, all right? Very shrouded. All of these little self-help books out there that talk to us about going to higher consciousness. That's not where the information is, y'all. You're not going to learn how to star walk this way unless it was already encoded in your algorithm prior to your incarnation. That's the only way. There are some people where they just have this naturally encoded into their algorithm. And usually, in order for that to be something that is the case, there's a bloodline sort of thing happening. It's all about access. The simulation is all about access. Magic is all about access. Do you have the code? Are you tied into the right algorithm? Okay. So anyway, all that to say, I recently wrote an article about this concept that I've been pondering on for months, which is God being a game maker. God is a game maker, y'all. Okay. Our concept of what God is a game maker. Okay. And the way for us to access our God consciousness is to be game makers. Period. End of story. That's how you navigate this simulation. That's how you navigate this program. And the simulation is huge. My concept of what the simulation is can differ greatly from yours because we might be on many different algorithms. More likely than not, something about our algorithms are coinciding for you to even have caught this live. Okay. But there are times everything is about algorithms. So you really need to think about the people that you are talking with daily and what algorithm are they programmed for? And what algorithm are you programmed for? Or what do you want out of life? You might need to switch algorithms. That's when you move to the crossroads. A big way that I started learning about algorithms was through water. So studying water started with the ocean, studying different large bodies of water, oceanic bodies of water, but then moving on to tributaries and river systems. That's where you really start learning about algorithms, y'all, is through freshwater systems. And by the way, I do have a cat who is very vocal, and he might give some meows of affirmation, but he's like, his meows are intense. Okay. He has like big Leo energy. So yeah, the cat is not in pain if you start hearing him meow. He's just talking. Sometimes it literally sounds like he's saying hello. Okay. I'm going to pause because I see some stuff coming up. Oh, Leslie Long. Okay, I purchased your Destiny Retrieval Toolkit. I appreciate that you're helping us with this because I know that I'm at a crossroads and I've been in more fear and doubt more than usual. Okay, I'm going to respond to that. Okay, that's where I know you from. Okay, hi, Leslie. I will answer your question, or I'm going to address that in a bit. Okay, Alicia Average says, my Saturn is in the first house in Capricorn. Ooh, power. That's a power move right there. Run for Restrun 12. You are literally the coolest person. Cool. Interesting you said that because I'm in a very cold climate right now and I'm working with ice. So I'm taking that as a multidimensional sort of note as well. Oh, Run Forest Run. You have Saturn in the first house in Capricorn too? Okay. So, um, the Crossroads. Yep, there he goes. There he goes. He wants to talk. Okay, the Crossroads. I have so much to say about this, y'all. So much to say about this. I'm going to start like from what I read about when I was first studying magic for the first time in alchemy, when I was like, I need to learn this whole concept of magic and alchemy. I'm moving rooms. You're being loud. You're being really loud. When I was first thinking about this concept of magic and alchemy, and I was like, I don't know, I just really was interested in the quote dark stuff, but not in the way that, not for the reason that, oh, for some reason I'm not able to, oh, I guess I can't comment on comments. I guess that makes sense. Okay, anyway, sorry. So when I first started learning about the Crossroads, the only sort of information that's out there, y'all, is if you want to work with the cemeteries and the graveyards, okay? Crossroads, you're going to find that in hoodoo. You're going to find the crossroads in voodoo, palo mayombe, okay? And that's for a reason, okay? That's all a setup. All right? That's the illusion. All right? We're dealing with the realm of Saturn. Now, Saturn, there's a very old Egyptian deity. You can't find information about this deity, but I was really, really interested in this deity really early on when I started learning about like Egyptian sort of cosmology and stuff. But you can't find this deity. The deity's name is Sekert. Sekert, also Seker. It almost reads like secret, Sekert. So that is Sekert or Seker. Sometimes then you get into like Sokar as well, Sokar. That's another one. They're all like the same deity known as Saturn. And, Sekert is a different type of degree of Saturn. I mean, you can get into the degree of like, different degrees of Saturn would be like Kali Ma. That's a degree of Saturn. Then you have Shiva. That's another degree of Saturn. Sekert is a little different. That's the sort of stuff you don't get into until you've been fully initiated. It's very difficult to find information on Sekert. But, Saturnian magic is known to be blood and bones. Blood, bones, and death. That's what you get. But blood, bones, death, cemeteries. Yeah, that's it, It looks scary. So it's kind of like, okay, I don't want to deal with that. Like, if I have to get into this whole Saturnian magic thing and like go to the graveyard, like automatically that's just inspiring certain fear. That's part of it. It's supposed to inspire fear, okay? There are so many wards in the simulation that are in place to keep you exactly where you're at, to not move on the game board. But for people who know this is a game board and choose to play this world as a game board, or I won't even say world, but this construct as a game board, there are certain geometries that you can access to make things happen if you are stuck. But you must go to the crossroads to do that. You can't just be stuck and scared and looping in stuck and scared. Well, you can actually. You can totally do that. But then you'll just be stuck and scared, like you'll be in the same algorithm. Algorithms work through movement. Every time we do an AI search, we are using fresh water to do it. I spoke about this in, I did an archetype analysis on the dark siren. So I have an archetype section that you can kind of go to and peruse. And I talk about this more in that dark siren archetype. Um, yeah, you need water. You need water for AI, for this whole thing. This whole thing. Do you hear that? He said, hello. Oh my gosh, you're so loud. I knew he was going to do this. Closing the door. He's probably going to meow louder. Anyway. um okay, where was I? Well, let me look at these comments first. I'll go back to that. I was talking about water and algorithms. I'm going to go back to it, y'all. This is all about the crossroads, okay? Let's see. What else do we have? Thank you for the flower, Alicia. Okay, Lily 4A says, I purchased your book, Beyond the Birth Chart, and I noticed you didn't mention the signs like you did with the houses and planets. Why? That's a good question. That's a really good question. So let me answer that now. No. Actually, I'm gonna table that because I told Leslie I was gonna speak to her. Well, I kind of was speaking to Leslie's thing with the fear. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm answering in the same order. Okay, let me get into that. So I see those are more like stars. Okay. And a lot of this is kind of coming up through the Starwalking stuff that I'm writing about now. So I write very intensely about the constellations of the zodiac. It's like being channeled to me, all like is wild. It's like all you have to do is be on a certain frequency. If you can just get on a certain frequency, you don't have to try for nothing. You just need to receive and allow. That's it. So that's been the energy I've been in lately. But it took a minute. It took a lot, you know. And I want to talk about that process, and I want to help people through that process because, oh my goodness, it's really tricky. There's some trickery happening on this game board that if we just know about it and we know the specificity of, we can easily overcome it. So when I was doing Beyond the Birth Chart, right? When I read both birth charts, so let me be really clear about this, y'all. I've said this before. I said it in the book, but I want to just make sure because I don't want to seem like I'm perpetrating or this and this and that. I am not an astrologer. I have studied astrology for decades, but I do not read charts the way an astrologer does. For me, when I started to make sense of this whole astrology thing, the way it clicked for me was numerically, like a numerical code. Numbers. Numbers was like what helped me to see the coding of what was happening in the birth chart. So for me, and the way I express this concept of deprogramming your birth chart, going beyond your birth chart, which is critical to do as you initiate this star walking process, because you can get caught up in a lot of icky stuff, which I'll also talk about. It was through numbers. It's through the houses. Okay. The signs play a role, but they're in the stars. And the name of the book is called, I'm actually forgetting the whole thing, but it's like Beyond Your Birth Chart, a guide for, I don't know, something like a guide for activating star sovereignty. Maybe the activating word is wrong, but definitely star sovereignty. Focus on that. So for Lily, focus on star sovereignty. That's why I did not put that in the Beyond the Birth Chart book, because each of the zodiac constellations are a collection of stars. Okay? We can't really even interface with the stars until we go beyond this coding system in the birth chart, which is more numerical. But they're important. The signs are important. Those zodiac constellations are very important. It's interesting you just asked me about that, because literally before I got on here, I just channeled a whole bunch of stuff related to that. So we're in a similar algorithm sort of energy. But yeah, they're important. It's just to go beyond your birth chart. The zodiac, if you focus too much on the zodiac from a non-sovereign place, and if you're caught up in the programming of your birth chart, you are interfacing with the zodiac from a non-sovereign place. And the idea is getting you to star sovereignty. So yes, you incorporate the stars, and the zodiac specifically in your journey of star walking. But for my gnosis, it's you got to get through these house systems first. Okay, there's just like I just found a lot of the trickery happening through houses, and the way that they're like gates, you know. But yeah, but the zodiac constellations are very important, and they also have a lot to do with time. So each time, like the astrology changes, like we just went from Capricorn to Aquarius season, that's a clock. All right, so think about that zodiac wheel, and it looks like a clock, right? Like it has 12 houses. It's a big ass clock. So every time we go into a new constellation, we are entering a different perspective on time. Like in Capricorn season, we're supposed to be focused more on like the holidays, and then it's a lot of like organizing, cleaning up, getting ready for the new year, setting your goals, and then boom, as soon as you get into Aquarius, like this is a very Aquarius type conversation too. Stars, like we're getting into the 11th house energy, the collective consciousness energy, and then there's more of a mystical sort of energy and more of a humanitarian, over otherworldly sort of energy that you can get into with Aquarius. Okay. Once you're in a state of star sovereignty, though, you can do some fun things. I'm gonna leave it there for right now. So that's my answer to your question. It's a great question, timely, resonant question. Okay. So next comment, I don't have any friends or fam because I still have major trust issues I need to work on. It's very self-isolating and heavy doing things, learning things on my own. That's your algorithm. Y'all, it goes so deep. I don't know how deep I'm going to get into this on this particular live. But let me go back to the river analogy, because I was starting to explain algorithms. I'm moving into Crossroads. I am getting to from algorithm to crossroad. There is a connection. Let me go back to the river. So when you start studying algorithms are based upon the stars and the waters. Algol is a star. It's a demon star, or so they say. But it's a star. A lot of people say that AI is supposed to be what is it? Run by the devil or something? I don't know. I would like there's all these like conspiracy theories about AI. But algorithm is a type of is formed from a star. But if you even go deeper into it, if you look into the source of the word algorithm, you're getting into rivers. The algorithm is based on a very specific river. I'm not going to say which one it is. Y'all go do your own research, but it's out there, It's a very specific river. Okay. And placement is everything too. Placement is everything. It was also based upon, I'm blanking out on his name. I don't want to butcher his name, but also the creator of algebra. And yeah, the creator of algebra, algorithm was named after him. Okay. He's, I believe originally from what is now known as Uzbekistan, but it wasn't called Uzbekistan back then. Okay. So every time you're doing an AI search, you are using fresh water. AI will not accept Seawater. It must be clean drinking water or else it'll mess up. So there's this whole thing around like the water usage of AI. Okay. Who else needs clean drinking water? Oh, humanity? Huh. Maybe we're not as different as we think. AI needs fresh drinking water? And so do we? Isn't that so interesting? But yet it's like taking away our humanity somehow, but it needs water too. It needs to drink water. Okay. How does this connect back to the crossroads? Rivers are a form of crossroads. Yeah, when two rivers or like when two bodies of water meet, they're creating a crossroads. So I want you to think about the algorithm. Algorithm is fresh water named after a river itself. It needs fresh water to survive, and it moves very quickly. Rivers move. Rivers are not just like stagnant ponds, okay? And they're not oceans that go in waves like the moon directs it. No, it's fresh water that's on the move. It's navigating. And, wherever you want to be where fresh water is, right? Your quality of life improves exponentially if you're just by water. Okay. Like, you're getting the right negative ions, which are helping you with your health and well-being. I mean, there's just so many reasons to be by water, specifically fresh water. You can go fishing. Like, there's just like a lot of stuff you can do. Okay. So my first tip for anybody who's working the crossroads, find where your bodies of water are. Do you have water around you? Okay. Maybe you don't. That's something to note. There's a reason why real estate prices go up the closer you are to water. There's a reason. So the first step, I would say, to working the crossroads actually wouldn't be going to the cemetery and buying graveyard dirt and all that. I've done the whole cemetery thing too. That's cool. I think the crossroads and incorporating the cemetery into it is good for you to overcome fears of death. You definitely want to work through that. If you have fear of death or the other side, then sure, maybe visit a cemetery and all that. Yeah, maybe that would be helpful for you, but that's really not what the crossroads are. Like, that's the game board crossroads, but that ain't the like crossroads I'm talking about. All right, let me see. What else are people saying? Let's see. Oh, thank you, Alicia. Welcome. Yay, you just like you stopped by. That's good. I like that. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go live because like I bet you I'll connect with somebody that's I've never encountered before. That sounds cool, you know? So I'm glad I went live. I'm vibing. I was able to go live and like be in my vibe while going live. I don't feel like a ring light right now. Okay. You're welcome, Lulu. Okay, definitely feel like I'm at a crossroads, like I've been leaving the past old me behind. Yeah. This is where technomancy comes in. You said you feel like there's this energy that wants me to be tied down to my family, codependency, also transforming my relationship with health and food. Definitely need to clean up my death fears. Started to last year. Yeah, it's a process. It is a process. Where do I want to let me focus a little bit on death. Okay, I wrote about this a lot in the last book I published, The Technomancy of Hyperdimensional Warfare. It's chapter 6. I wrote a chapter on the death current and this concept of overcoming your fear of death and how it's really critical. You want to be at home in the darkness. That's why I'm having this conversation in the dark with no lights on, is because, yeah, you get to the darkness. You have to be comfortable with it. Becoming no one, becoming no one. This idea of dropping all of the identities, all of the stories, all of the scripts, and reaching a state of null, a null value, zero, as they say. But null is, and zero is not, there are degrees of zero, actually. The zero that they discuss on the game board of the simulation is different than that zero or null energy that you get to when you are preparing to starwalk. Okay, everything has an opposite in the simulation. Everything that you think is true, there's an opposing truth to what you think is true. Zero, if you think about it from that way, becomes 8. So there's one perspective of zero, just the full circle. But another form of zero in the simulation, a hidden zero, is 8. Why? Because this universe is based upon the law of polarity. So we hear that a lot. That's the other thing. I know that, one of the first things people do when they start like studying magic and alchemy, what do? They learn about the 7 hermetic laws. Okay. Read those again, as you're navigating this concept of the crossroads, but like read it from the perspective of life being a game, and you are reading an instruction manual to the game. Okay. If you follow the laws exactly, then you stay on the game board. I want you to imagine if you started playing one of your favorite games, right? One of your favorite board games or card games. And imagine you started changing the rules to that game. You're not playing that game anymore. You're doing something else. You might be utilizing some of those tools. And you can do that. People do that. They create new games out of old games. You can. This is when I get back to that topic of God being a game maker. God, at least according to the simulation, is whatever intelligence created this current, quote, reality that we exist in. Okay? God is a game maker. So for you to access God consciousness, you are actually accessing game maker mode. That's really what you're doing. To have the ability, to have the gumption, to have the creativity, to create your own rules, to create your own rules of engagement, your own way of playing or navigating. So another thing to do is, as you're learning about Saturn particularly, because, we're getting in, when you get to the crossroads, you're at Saturn, okay? Saturn is a taskmaster. So another thing about crossroads stuff for people, if you're afraid of Saturn, that's the first thing that got to go, Don't be afraid of Saturn anymore, okay? Because that's where all the jewels are going to come from. That's where the instruction manual is. So if you're afraid of it, because, Saturn rules over time, it rules over death, it rules over ancestry. So if you have issues with those things, work on those first, okay? That's like the first thing. But if you study game makers, right? So I went through a process when this stuff was being revealed to me about the game maker nature of quote unquote God. I started studying game makers. I started studying them really carefully. Who are the most famous game makers? Where did they learn? What did they learn? What did they study? What was their life like? The themes are, a lot of them went to like trade schools. They didn't go to like Ivy Leagues, they, or if they went to a college or a university, it wasn't like some big fat name, like you would imagine, like, oh, if you're going to be a successful game maker, it means you need to go to your Yale or your Harvard. No. Some of them went to trade schools. Yeah, they had some kind of life experience or apprenticeship, but then one thing that was pretty standard that I've been seeing, at least the old school game makers. I did a deep dive on old school game makers. So I haven't taken the deep dive into the realm of video game designers yet. I've actually been going really old school. Because, like, when I think about this game board, it feels like a mixture between the Game of Life and Monopoly and Westworld. Like, that's like the three ways I would describe this game board. More like Westworld, you know? So, for example, right, if you are trying to create a new life track for yourself or a new way of experiencing the world, imagine, I don't know for who's watched that show, that show Westworld, or knows like this topic or this concept that I'm talking about, but in Westworld, these clones become self-aware and they realize they're being played. Okay, they realize they're being played, so all of the stuff that they're sad about, or the things that they really want, their dreams, they have been programmed from day one. And what starts happening in Westworld is these clones become self-aware, and then they start programming themselves. That's what happens, okay? But in this series, you start seeing that there are different worlds in this same cosmos. So the creators of Westworld, they didn't just create Westworld. They created like a World War II land, okay? They created like an area for like Genghis Khan. Like, they did a whole thing. So, and what was happening with some of them is they would end up sometimes being reset and sent to another world, okay? When you quote timeline jump, that's kind of the energy that you're in, you know? Like, maybe you want to move from Westworld to Genghis Khan world, you know, like for whatever reason, you know. Movement is good, you know. That doesn't mean you're still not in the simulation or still within a certain like consciousness, you know, dimensional consciousness bandwidth, but you're able to get new scenery, right? You're able to meet new characters, all that kind of stuff. So that was like one part of the consciousness freedom journey of these clones that started becoming self-aware. But then at one point, then the clones, at least one of them, became so self-aware that they were able to program themselves enough to not be in these clone worlds, to be in the world of the root users. You know, where do these root users of these clone worlds, where do they go? Okay, because like, all right, in Westworld, right? Just for people who haven't seen it, I just want to make sure that I'm articulating this clearly. All right. So in Westworld, it is this kind of dystopian show that basically is like, what if rich people created a world for themselves to go and get away, right? Like, so they would go to the Wild West in Westworld. And what they were able to do is they were able to do literally whatever they wanted in Wild West or in Westworld. You know, they'd spend a week there. You know, if they want to kill somebody, they can kill somebody. They want to have sex with somebody, they can have, like, whatever they want to do, they can do it because they're in a clone world and nobody's real anyway. Okay, so that is the premise of Westworld. And you have these clones, and particularly the clone Dolores is a really interesting one to watch because she's in these trauma loops. She keeps having this man in black come and do terrible things to her, take her away from her family. Like, this man in black keeps terrorizing her. And this man in black is basically just this billionaire oligarch dude who likes to come to Westworld and just do whatever, okay? And he likes to pick on Dolores, okay? So this man in black dude just comes on and traumatizes Dolores in all kinds of ways because it doesn't matter because she's just going to be reset anyway and she starts all over again. So he's been like playing and toying with her for years, okay? And, you know, it starts off with her being this defenseless, like, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? But then she becomes self-aware. And then she becomes really dangerous. And somehow she gets out of Westworld and she's in the world of these root users, these men in black who normally they go to Westworld and do whatever they want. But now roles are flipped, and Dolores, she's out in the world of these root users. To do that, Dolores had to starwalk. Okay? I don't know if this is making sense. But star walking might not literally be walking on stars. Star walking might not literally be going on a spaceship. Star walking could be accessing different algorithms, different pockets of this multiverse that maybe were restricted to the point where you didn't even know they existed. That's what star walking is. Okay. In order for that to happen, though, for Dolores to get out of Westworld and to become self-aware and to become her own root user, she went through a huge process of deprogramming all the scripts. She had to become no one. She couldn't be Dolores anymore, at least not the Westworld Dolores. She had to unlearn so much. She had to deprogram so much. She had to clear so much. And then she had to upgrade herself. You know, she had to give herself permissions that she didn't normally have access to. Okay. So she stopped being played, and then she became a game maker. Okay. Unfortunately, I can't really find a place to watch this Westworld anymore. I've been wanting to. But they took it off HBO. It hasn't really been anywhere. I guess I could like buy the DVDs, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm just kind of waiting for it to be streamed somewhere again, I guess. But yeah, Star Walking is accessing different portions of the information system. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop it there. Let me see what questions are coming up. Let's see. Hi, Life with Lisette. Not easy, but I'm seeing change, so it's worth it big time. Good. Yeah, not easy. Not easy. And then it will. It will get easy. It will. If it's not easy, you're not in the right algorithm. Yeah. If you were in, I remember one time, like when I was like really, it was actually really funny. It was really being articulated to me that this world is a simulation. Okay. I was getting it big time. And to show it, it was like being mirrored in my world. Like I had to see it. I had to see it in action. Like to the point where, and what I was being shown was like how karma works, you know, and how like you could have certain energies on you that just makes things go wrong for you. And I remember like I literally, y'all, I touched a cup. Like I just touched it. I didn't pick it up. I didn't squeeze it, and my touch caused it to break. It was so funny. I was like, my literal touch caused this cup to break, like the handle to come off. Like it was hilarious. Like little stuff like that. You'll start noticing that, you know, the staging of things, you know. But that let me know. I'm like, I am in a very odd timeline right now. You know, I'm in a timeline that's kind of a setup, you know, and so I had to see that. So if things are really difficult, if you are encountering energies where it's like people are trying to cause problems, people are trying to block you, energies are trying to block you, you're late to things all the time, you know, there's traffic every time you go out, like all that stuff, that shows you that you are in a corner of the multiverse that maybe is not advantageous for you, you know? But here's the awesome thing as you start expanding your consciousness and seeing what's out there, y'all. There are so many different possibilities. So if anybody is feeling stuck right now, okay, Man, there are so many different stations to tune into. So many. You can change the channel. But the reason why I want to work with folks on this Crossroads stuff is because the changing of the channel is you at the crossroads and deciding to cross. And there are programs that say, no, 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 this is the only thing that exists. This is the only way life can be. If I can't make this work on this linear timeline, then I'm a failure. And it's not that. You're just not in where you're supposed to be. This isn't you're not in your energy. This isn't the right frequency bandwidth for you. That's all that's happening. But, there's been this program thing that's been going on so strong that says this is the only way. And if you can't make it work, you're a fuck up. Okay. Whereas you're a fuck up because you're not in the right place you're supposed to be. You just need to change the channel. It's like condemning somebody for, I mentioned The Office earlier on. I said, I see linear time as a constant marathon of The Office. I love watching The Office sometimes, but I'll get in a really weird loop if I just watch The Office all day. But you can find The Office marathon happening usually if whenever you tune into cable, it'll be there somewhere. But can you imagine, right? Imagine you're watching TV and you're about to change the channel because you're like, I don't really like this station anymore. But then all of a sudden you start getting all these calls and all these messages saying, if you change the channel, you're a failure. If you change the channel, then you're canceled. Can you imagine? That would be an extreme form of totalitarianism, right? But that's the energy, y'all. That's what I'm seeing. That's the energy. Okay? From a multidimensional perspective, from a galactic perspective, that's totalitarianism to me. But you will have an option though. That's the thing about the game board is number one, it's based on polarity. So to operate, outside of the game board, you would need to operate outside of polarity. Okay. And that is what a lot of beings who know how to navigate the multiverse, they are not in polarity. You might think that they're in polarity, but they're not. They're operating in a whole different frequency bandwidth. Okay. This is why polarity integration is so important, because when you're able to get out of polarity, you can't really be moved in the same way on the game board. If you look at if you look at the chessboard, right? You got the black pieces and the black squares and the white squares. Well, what if you're gray? You're immovable if you're gray. Where do you go? There's no place for you on the board. You're gray. You can't even be the pawn anymore. There's no gray pawns. You either have the black pawn or the white pawn, but you're gray. So you can't move on the board. You're now all of a sudden your color's not even on the board. Do you even exist on the board? This is why polarity integration. And the crossroads, you can cross without being fully neutral. You can, but there are degrees. Okay. So I've worked the crossroads in a lot of different ways. I used to do it a lot with movement. The first time I worked the crossroads really heavily, oh man, I saw feedback pretty quickly when I did it. But the first time I didn't. I was like, I woke up and knew that I was multidimensional, and there was a certain time cycle that I wanted to be in. When I first worked the crossroads, it was really clear that I wasn't going nowhere. It was like when I did my first crossroads thing, it was really clear, that is not going to work. Because I was trying to keep a lot of my identity programs. I was like, I want to change, but in a way that feels comfortable. And really what was saying is like, what was happening when I got the feedback was, you are holding on to an old piece of identity that is not even existing on the timeline, or not the timeline. I'm not even going to call it the timeline. I'm going to call it the space. It's not even existing in the space you want to go to. So no, you cannot cross. So this is when you have too much luggage. Okay. In order to cross, you need to not have any luggage. You need to be at null. So start looking in your environment. If the crossroads are scary, look wherever you're at right now. Do you need all the stuff that you have? Do you have a bag of clothes that you haven't been using? Are there like clothes in your closet right now that you just never use? And I'm literally going to do the same thing. I do this quite often actually, but I haven't done this in a few weeks. So now this is my nudge just to see, like, is there any, like, literally, is there an article of clothing that you're holding on to that you never wear, but you don't want to give it away because one day maybe you will, but you don't really like it, like you're not resonating with it, but it doesn't make sense for you to give it away. Like, that's how you start crossing. Start emptying your closet with, the stuff you think you need. Your avatar might need it. It's like Barbie. Oh my God, so much of this is like Barbie, y'all. It's crazy. You know how like Barbie has like her dream house, and then Barbie has her kitchen. You know how you have all these different appliances that Barbie can have. Like Barbie has her own world. I was like watching like an Instagram short recently, and there's a whole Barbie crystal collection that's coming out, which is really interesting, like where Barbie owns a crystal shop and there's all these like little Barbie crystals. I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. But Barbie is still Barbie without her belongings. Barbie doesn't need all of that stuff. Barbie doesn't really need her dream house. Barbie is infinite. There's infinite Barbies, like, I know there's not actually infinite Barbies, but there's a lot. There's a lot of different scenes that Barbie can end up in, okay? All Barbie needs to do is change her wardrobe, change her scenery, and she's living a whole new life. You need to start seeing yourself as Barbie. Barbie's multidimensional, actually. I can't believe I said that. I'm like repeating that back to myself. You need to see yourself as Barbie. Yo, polarity integration have you saying stuff you never thought you would say. Yeah, there's actually a huge multidimensional lesson of Barbie. That's because she represents this cosmic creator goddess known as Barbello, who is Source. That's really what they're showing with these Barbie things. There's so many different Barbies, like multi-dimensional Barbies. You can put Barbie in any different setting. She can be any different skin color, right? But she represents in the simulations game board. She actually represents an emanation of the cosmic goddess known as Barbello. She's all things. Barbie can do everything. Okay. Yeah, so Barbie's not worried about her stuff because she's Barbie. She has her dream house, but then you'll see Barbie in a whole other dimension with like her Jeep, and then in a whole other dimension with her crystal shop. That's what you need to start seeing yourself as. That's when you start, you start connecting with the monad or the source, okay? Because there are many, many different potentialities that you can experience. And if you're holding on to one item or one thing just in case, like that's just in case for that timeline that you're on or that space that you're on that you don't even like. So why are you holding on to that? So that's where you start. You start with the 3D mundane stuff. Cleaning. I always say cleaning first. Clean. Really clean. There's an alchemical process with changing your environment and cleaning your environment. There's an alchemy with it. You don't need as much as you think you need. And whether it's the dirty dishes in the sink or it's the laundry that's piled up or whatever, all of that is causing it's making it a little bit more difficult for you to cross. Okay. But a lot of us are overwhelmed with life. but we have too much. We don't need all the stuff that we have. We think we do, but we don't. So a lot of times these items, you're keeping them out of fear, but they're weighing on you. They're literally weighing you down. They're weighing you down physically, emotionally, etherically. Okay. So focus on how you are in relationship to the material world, what you think you need. Okay. And start there. You always need less than what you think. And this is what I've learned through so many different initiations on my path, like losing things. Like I've gotten taught a lot of this stuff along the way. Okay. So I didn't just know this. It's like stuff I've gone through. And once you start star walking, or even before, because I didn't even know what I was actually fully doing. It's now making a lot more sense to me, but you start noticing that you're provided for. Maybe you're not abundantly provided for in the space that you're in right now, but there is spaciousness and you can move spaces and you'll be provided for over there, you know? So that would be step one, is like, let go of the items. Are you using a pen that you don't even like, that makes you think of limitation? Maybe it has like a bitten off, maybe it's like, I used to bite my pens, the pin cap that's all bitten. Do you need that? Like, is that the life track that you're on? Like, so start with really small, mundane things. What clothes are you holding on to because you're like, well, maybe I'll be this size again, or maybe this and that. Like, now you're being caught in like old memories too, and then you're judging yourself like, oh, I don't fit this, but I fit it back then. Like, you're putting yourself into like a harsh sense of judgment to keep you stagnant. It's all keeping you stagnant. Okay, let me see what else people are saying. Okay. So, okay, I have a dark sense of humor, but having a health scare made me hesitant. But I'm working on not being afraid or thinking that I jinx myself. Yes. Yes. Yeah, health scares, that's another thing that I started noticing. Like, when I started getting into this energy of the darkness or 0 point, like what that meant, what it meant to become no one. Because to do that, like, you're getting to the back end code of the simulation. You do have to, at some point, you got to get there. The way there is so scary. I was just reflecting on it. I'm going to be sharing this subliminal on Patreon soon, but I kind of need to. I did this subliminal months ago, but I need to like kind of prepare people because it was so scary what I saw. This was when I was like first crossing. This was like my first cross, um, like just into the back end of the simulation. The first crossing you do is like acceptance of, I am in a simulated holographic reality. Like, and you see it. There's a death that happens when, like the death of life as you thought it was, the death of reality. There's actually a book out there. It's hard to get. It's a little on the expensive side, but there's some gems in there. It's called The Murder of Reality. There is a murder of reality that you go through. This is why the death current is really important to navigate, and to navigate the fear, because the fear is what. Once you detach yourself from fear, you can see scary things and not be fazed by it. There's stuff I've seen, y'all, and I had to check in with myself. I'm like, am I scared right now? Am I emotionally bypassing and not dealing with a negative emotion? I like literally have to check in with my gut. It's like, nope, I'm good. It's like, oh, okay. Because I'm like, that was really scary. And if I had seen that like 3 years ago, I would be so scared right now. But then it's just you go into a state of, it's a cleaning. It's a constant cleaning that you're doing, like cleaning the old codes, and then I realized that a lot of the stuff that used to make me afraid, my source self was not afraid. It was the coding that I had on me that told me to be afraid, you know? So yeah, there is some scary stuff, but like when I did a subliminal called the Sovereign Spiral, and this was like when I really was stepping into the back end code of the simulation, and I had to go through a portal. It was like a weird vortex I had to go through. I don't know if it was a wormhole or what. It was wild. But when I was going through it, it was the first time I worked with command codes too. And it was a long subliminal with it was like a lot of command codes in there. And, because I saw some stuff in there, I saw barcodes, I saw some stuff. Okay. My dream space was weird. It was like super mechanical that night, but the first time I put that subliminal on, I was so scared. Like it felt like I was going through this weird wormhole. And literally there was a program that turned on, y'all, where like every single negative emotion or thought that I've ever experienced, I experienced it all at once magnified. And what got me through that, because I was reflecting back on this, I'm like, that was so scary. And I was like, okay, like I just want to make sure like when I share this information that I do so in a way that prepares you. Okay, that prepares you. But anyway, the way I got through that was I just had to feel all that or see all that, and I just went through that portal and said that that's not me. Those are stories. That's not me. I am source. I had to like focus on my connection to source, me being source. And I had to literally watch and feel that it was like an army of negativity coming my way. And yeah, I had to stay in my source. I had to connect to source, and I had to say, that's not me. That's not who I am. So there are thresholds like that you will pass, where, a lot of negative stuff might start coming up. Like a lot of negative emotions might come up out of nowhere. And then you'll start noticing, you're like, did I really think this? Or is this just a program that I'm experiencing right now? So also question, like, is this even mine, or is this just like some programming that's going off? But yeah, you at some point need to not identify with your story. And this is why travel is really important. I think another thing I want to mention about the crossroads, and this is information that I've been knowing for a while, but I've been feeling into it, but I haven't been sharing it as much because I didn't want to push people, too much, but I don't know. I think I need to be more clear about the importance of travel, like physical travel, in this process of creating more opportunities for yourself. And you could think of travel as I'm going on a plane and I am traveling abroad, or you can think of it like I'm going to go to a city I've never been before. You could think about it like I'm going to take a completely different way home from work. It is completely out of the way, but I'm going this way. I'm going to meander my way home, and I'm going to take a whole different set of streets. I don't care if Google Maps says that it's too long of a way. I'm going, and I'll see what I find along the way. That's travel. You got to like train yourself for travel constantly. This is a precise art and science that you're cultivating, and you're going to have your own way of doing it. But this whole loop that folks are in, this non-ending show of The Office that people are in, you ain't going nowhere with that. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen, Like, so travel is so important. These are things I learned. I got pushed. Um the first time though, this is another thing I want to share, the importance of the web. This is why, a lot of these things came to me when I released that album, The Book of the Spider, because there was so much I needed to learn about the spider. I've been connected to the web for a while. When I realized that I was living in a when I was living in a script that was out of resonance with where I really wanted to be, I felt so stuck. I felt like there was no way, absolutely no way. I've been in those impossible situations so much, so I'm so confident in what I'm saying right now. You can alchemize anything. You can literally change the station. Okay. But travel's going to be important because mindset is a lot of times cultivated by our material existence. How are you going to travel when you are in the same four walls that you've been in for years? How, Sway? How is that going to happen? Like, how? Let me understand. I don't get it. You must travel. Oh, but I don't know if I can find rent in the same bracket and da 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 da. I get it. Look, I get it. Okay, so you want to stay in the office. You want to stay in that office episode. Okay, cool. But you're in the office, right? Just know you're in the office. That's fine. Oh, rent. I don't know if I like this apartment. What if I don't get the same rent? Or, oh, I don't know because I don't want to be alone. Or, okay, all right, fine. Y'all, this is so deep. I've been meditating. I haven't, for the folks on Black Diamond, I'm sitting with this next workshop, or I don't know if it's a workshop, teach-in for February. It's going to be early February, first week of February. But I've been going back and forth, I want to make sure that I give the content that's the most resonant. I haven't fully nailed down the topic, but it's going to be around, at least a portion of it is going to be around the archonic family structure. Okay, so for folks who don't know, or if you haven't been like watching my content and stuff, I am not like a light worker type. I don't identify with the whole star seed narrative. I know I'm talking about like Starwalking, but I am not a star seed. Let me be real clear about that. I am not a star seed. I used to identify with that. I have seen that as being a part of the control mechanisms of the simulation. It is another form of astrology, just in a higher dimension. It's a different part of the game board, and the way I've been able to learn about the construction of the simulation is by learning about those same energies that I was taught was so evil and so destructive. And that's archonic intelligences. I've been learning from archons. Okay. First of all, let me just be really clear. If anybody's trying to ascend to 5D or 12D or 22D, the 360 dimensions of this universe are under archonic regime. They're all archons. Okay. So if you're like trying to ascend to 5D, okay, you're under archonic jurisdiction, which is fine. But don't be like trying to fight archons and saying that you're getting attacked by archons. Well, what do you like? It's the whole architecture. It's the whole thing. So you do need to learn about how it's constructed at some point, if you want a little bit more sovereignty. I'll put it that way. I'm calling it being a galactic free agent. Okay. Yeah, it's all archonic. Okay. So you need to learn the realm of the archons. And I don't say this from archons are bad. Archons are going to mirror to you exactly where you are not in you are not in polarity integration. Wherever you're too polarized, that's when an archon is going to mirror to you, because their realm, the realm that this universe was created on, is built on the law of polarity. It's a law, okay? So there is an interesting hidden curriculum on this planet. I was trying to fight it. So I even have videos where I'm like, they try to say Earth is a school and all this sort of stuff. I don't know if y'all have ever had those dreams. Have y'all ever had those dreams where you're you're late for class? Like you wake up, like you're in the dream, and all of a sudden you realize you have like a really big test that you didn't study for. Those dreams drove me so crazy, because in the dream I would like all of a sudden just be like, I need to go. Oh my God, I have a test that I literally didn't even study for. I didn't even know class was in session, but now I have a final exam. Those dreams were the worst for me. I used to get them a lot. I used to get them a lot around my Saturn return. Okay, I only had one Saturn return so far, but yeah, around my Saturn return, I would get them like that. They started coming on a lot. I don't know if y'all have ever gotten those dreams. If you have those dreams, your subconscious mind is trying to tell you about the hidden curriculum on this planet right now. I don't know if the curriculum is like what is it called, multiversal yet, or omniversal. I haven't figured that out. I'm still discovering what that is, but that's because you're tuning into, like, you're supposed to learn a quote lesson, and you didn't learn it. Like, that's what your subconscious mind is telling you, because there's this curriculum, y'all. This whole planet, there's a whole curriculum that this planet is based on. I was trying to fight it, but now I see, I'm like, okay, I get it. And then you get to a certain point, I was fighting it. First I was doing the whole starseed light worker thing. I'm ascending, and I'm gonna fight archons and and remove etheric implants. So I did that whole thing. Then I was like, nope, that's a lot of gaslighting. There's a lot of traps. There's a lot of weird energies there. I don't like that. You know what? Fine. I'm gonna go into this shadow work stuff. What are they doing over here? What's they doing in the underworld? What's all this necromancy about? What's going on? Let's see. Let me just get into it. So I went over there. That's feeling too polarized. Like, like the light workers were too polarized for me. The shadow workers were too polarized for me. I'm like, I don't know. And that's when I started learning about this energy of Abraxas. I just posted like a audio diary about my experience working with Abraxas. But yeah, this energy of like, no, this is a world of polarity. Like, if you are serious, because, if you start intending, because I've been going to the Crossroads, y'all. Like, I've been doing different types of like Crossroads stuff. Like, I'm really intense. Okay. I have a very intense energy. When I want to figure something out, I get so intense about it. Okay. Yeah, I'm very intense. Okay. So I've been intensely working the Crossroads, and it ain't just to move somewhere. Like, because I started getting to a point, because I was traveling so much, and I travel like, yo, I will be in random places in the world. I don't even tell people about everywhere I go. Okay. Like, not everybody knows where I go, but I'll be in random places in the world. And I was starting to feel like this tiger pacing around in her cage, And because I was like, okay, maybe the issue is I need to like travel the world, But I'm like, why do I still feel confined? And it was like my reality was showing it to me. I was seeing like weird nets everywhere. I would like be getting Airbnbs where literally it was just me, and they're just like a beautiful lake, and it was just tons of spaciousness. I'm like, finally, I just want peace and quiet. I just want space. I just want boundlessness. And then there'd just be like random helicopters. I'm like, what? I'm literally like nowhere. Why are there like helicopters everywhere? So this like stuff kept happening to me, and it was just a sign in my environment of like, you are in a very restricted timeline right now. You can travel the world, but like, you're not crossing, you're trapped. So this happens in phases, y'all. Your world gets bigger, and then it stops being a world. and then it's the universe. And it's like, wait, no, that universe is really confining. And then it's the multiverse. Like, we're in multiverse mode right now. So Crossroads is getting comfortable with travel wherever you're at right now. I know how scary it is to change your life that maybe you're bored by, but at the same time, it's comfortable. I've been there. When I needed to make that shift, I called on the energy of the spiders at the 0 dimension. You know, some people call it 13th dimension. It depends. It could be 0 or 13. I made an impossible thing happen. I was like, I need to get out of this situation. I don't know how this is going to happen. There's no money. There's no family I can go to. There's no this. There's no that. I'm stuck. Okay. And I started learning about the dimensions and learned about how the spiders are at like dimension 0 or dimension 13. And I just was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm sending attention out to the spiders, you know, because it said that they help to like route you, you know, they help to like route you grid wise. I was like, all right, spiders, look, I need this to happen. Da, da, da. Boom. Just out of nowhere, like very relatively quickly. A way came out of no way. There are little cheat codes you can get into in the simulation, and so somewhere around 0 and 13. We're going to talk more about that next month in February. But yeah, there's like, okay, imagine like this. So if this world is a game, or if this simulation is a game, games don't go on forever, right? Sometimes there's a timeout. You know, you think about like the umpire, or like you have to sit on the bench for a minute, you get your water break. You want to look for those energies. The Crossroads is about finding the energies on the game board of the simulation where there's timeout, where there's like ways for you to like reverse the rules, or like maybe you need to get, you know, you need to get some interference or something like that. You need to press pause. You need to stop the clock. Those things exist, and it starts at the Crossroads. Yeah, so travel is really important. Getting comfortable with travel. Go on a road trip. Going on a road trip. You know, if you're scared, because yeah, okay. So here's another thing. Let me also let me give y'all the dangers of working the Crossroads. Look, I've seen it all. I've seen a lot. Okay, I've seen a lot. Okay, I have seen a lot. I'm not gonna say I've seen it all, but I have seen a lot. So yes, things can get dangerous. This is why I created Genetic Path Cutter, like that whole like divination system, because I was starting to feel like, oh my gosh, there's an energy that wants me dead. I need to figure this out. And it was interesting because it was like I was being shown it, and then like right before something terrible happened, like things would just get reset. Like I had some kind of, it was like, I don't know if it's like a Hunger Games kind of energy. You know how like in the Hunger Games, like they had those tributes go out and do their like survival sort of stuff, their survivor thing. And then like sometimes there would be like a watcher that would like send the tribute something so they could figure it out, you know, like, wow, oh, here's your water, you know, bottle, or here's a meal for you. It felt like that. Like there are times like when you start working the game board and like saying, you know what, I'm looking for a whole new reality. Not like I want to have a new job, or, you know, I want like a new house. It has to be a little less game boardy than that. When you start getting into those energies, then what happens is you will be rerouted. Okay. But you're still in the curriculum of the game board. But what will happen is you will end up you'll be routed to a certain part of the game board to where you will need to accomplish tasks or pass tests to get what you need. Took me a while to see it. but that's what will happen. If you read anybody's book on this is how you ascend, this is how you da 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 da, and you follow it word by word, you have already lost. You can read books, sure. Read all the books. Yeah, read books. But don't follow it word by word. Like, this is where, because we're in a game. Everything's a game. And we're in a game board ruled by polarity. Okay? So spider energy, they're very polarized. What do they have? 8 legs. Okay? So already they're representing that 00 energy. Spiders are on the zero. I just said earlier, there was something I read a long time ago about spiders resting on the zero grid. They're like on the 0 grid. And I know that to be true now, just from my many experiences. But some people will say that spiders are on the 13th dimension. But, according to traditional astrology now, anyway, we have the 12. We have 12, but then there used to be 13 signs. We used to have the Ophiuchus. So there's this whole weird thing. So anyway, spiders will help. But if you're polarized in any way, they're going to show it to you. Okay. I knew that I got help from the spiders to get off of the certain game board or algorithm that I was on, because it was made very clear to me when I was placed in the next place, there were spider images everywhere. It was like really clear. They wanted me to know, like, it was us. They run the web, the web of life. Who do they talk about with the creator mother goddess? Who is that? A spider. Okay. Spiders are a form of archonic intelligence. For sure. Yes. They are the architects of this simulation. A lot of stuff goes down through spiders. The web. I'm talking to you right now through a web. Seriously. Spiders. But how many of us are afraid of spiders? Okay, that's fine, but kind of seems counterintuitive, like it maybe won't help you. So that's another thing that I had to go through. I had to go through a whole spider initiation and not being afraid of spiders. Many times. Big spiders that I don't know how they got into my house that big. I had to figure it out, and like not be afraid, have a stare down with them. I've fought spiders in my dreams. I had to get out of the polarity of spiders in many, many different ways, because when I wanted to work the web of the simulation, who's casting the web? That's spider consciousness. Once you get to the number 8, you are at the 00. When you turn 8 around on itself, what is it? It's infinity. So this is why I'm talking about the crossroads right now, because I'm operating on 8th dimensional consciousness right now. Okay. And that's going to seem really confusing if I don't break down these crossroads. So I'm going to work real close on crossroads and archonic intelligences for the times to come, so people can understand what I'm talking about. Okay. Because like the whole idea is like to be understood, or like to make this make sense. So right now, like I said earlier, I'm pushing myself to write academic articles about, it's not actually a push. It's actually a flow. It's happening naturally. But I had to like turn on a certain aspect of my mind that would say that this is even possible for me to talk about this stuff here and then turn it into a Chicago style academic article that I'm sharing on Academia EDU. Like that, I didn't think that was possible 2 weeks ago. I had to do some alchemy and make it possible. I had to change my station and boom. Oh, it's so easy. It's actually fun. I love it. So I'm pushing myself to contextualize this in many different ways, because whether it's an album, whether it's a subliminal, whether it's a meditation, whether it's an academic research article, whether it's a book, whether it's a lecture, whether it's a masterclass, whether it's a mystery school, this will be translated through me. Okay. Like that's kind of what my vibe is. All right. I'm in game maker mode and I want to work with people to be game makers. That's it. We're on a game board. So the only way out is to make a game, to realize that you're on the game board, know what the rules are, and then realize how to not be on the game, how to become no one on the game. Going back to the checkerboard analogy, black and white. There's only black and white on the checkerboard. What happens if you're gray? You are null. You're off the game. To make this more clear to you, you're going to have to look at the things you fear. What I'm discussing right now is what is known as the hanged man in tarot. Who the hell wants to be a hanged man? When I first started seeing the hanged man, I'm like, oh my God, I'm being sacrificed. Ah! That's one way of looking at it, yes. Sure. Certain algorithms, yeah, you'll be sacrificed. If you don't know the rules of the game board, okay, I'm going to give you a code right now. I will decode it in more depth in a non-YouTube-y sort of scenario, but here's a code. How do you make yourself gray on the game board to where you're not even a piece that can be moved? Like, people look at this and be like, what's this gray piece? Ugh, put it over here. Like, we're not even concerned. It's gray. Like, how do you make yourself gray? Well, okay, we look at the Hanged Man Tarot. This is a code related to Odin and the World Tree. That's another thing is like, I go really hard on archetypes is because, you want to know all the archetypes are a collection of codes, So if you go really hard into the archetypes for a little bit, then you can start deciphering the code of the simulation. But in the story of the World Tree, one of the stories is Odin. He is the god, the Norse god of, he's a lot around like occult information. Oh, there's the cat again. Hello? He's saying hello. He just likes to talk. Literally, he just does this. Yes, Dimitri. Okay. So, Odin hangs himself on the World Tree, also known as Yggdrasil, for 9 days. Why would he do that? Why would a god do that? He's God. Why would he hang himself on a tree? Because he refused to be sacrificed. So he hung himself? What? That doesn't make sense. Sounds like a masochist. Well, the deal was, you had to offer yourself up to the big gods, in Asgard or whatever. I don't know all the details, okay? But this is the general gist. You have to sacrifice yourself to the gods or whatever. That's how it went. But if you sacrifice yourself for yourself, sacrifice yourself for yourself. You may have just merged the opposites right there, huh? That is how you start exiting the game board. You have to start making yourself gray. So you do need to become no one. All right. Another archetype you can look at. Love this character. Arya Stark, Game of Thrones. Look at her journey starting at about season 5 when she gets into the gates of that priesthood. Start looking at that real close. They're giving you a whole code because there is a school program here. If you want to, quote, master this game board and exit the cycle of reincarnation, there is a curriculum that you must follow. Of course, if you follow it by anyone's writings, word for word, you've already lost. So, you do need to know that you're a creator. Odin sacrificed himself for himself to become a god. That was him claiming his godhood. That was him claiming himself as game maker. Okay? God is a game maker. You want to be close to God, you want to access the God from within, you access your game maker from within, creating on the spot. Okay? So yeah, you know the rules, it's cool, but you always want to improvise, because I've tested these out. Okay? I've read a lot of books, I've seen a lot, I've gone through a lot of meditations, a lot of journeys, visited a lot of realms, you know. I went light worker, I went shadow work. I mean, I did both. I did all like the religions, I never was religious, but I mean, I did the whole thing. Okay? Then I started doing the things that they said, "Oh, if you do this, this will happen. Oh, if you do that, this will happen." And then I would do it and I'm like, "Okay, that's not working. Okay, why isn't that not working?" And there's all these little back end things. Sometimes you're just coded to not ever achieve that. So if you keep running that code, you'll never get there. So there's a lot of like malware I had to clear, viruses I had to clear. Because like if I were to, there's certain information I started getting to is like, oh, I'm supposed to turn schizophrenic right now. That's what's supposed to happen right now. So I had to like see that, peep that, especially when you go through the thalamus, the pineal gland, like all that stuff. If you study schizophrenia, that's like in the thalamus is very much connected to your imagination. So there's like a huge gatekeeping energy at the thalamus where it's like you're only supposed to see a certain perspective. And if you start working with it really intensely, then it's like your head hurts and all that. Like I had to take that really slow. And we did a lot of that on Patreon. So for folks on Patreon, like check out, I did thalamus, midbrain. There's a binary. I did a few on dissolving binary code. But yeah, working on those really big, because there's a certain way of seeing that, like, there are codes where it's like you're supposed to go into self-destruct mode. And I could feel it happening. And that's why you go slow, so it's like a process of reverse engineering and stuff. But I've been in this like game maker mode for a while. I think now it's like starting to click and like coming more full circle over the past, or not full circle, but spiral over the past like amount of time. I'm not even going to give it a number at this point, but it's been happening for a while. And now that I'm finally like achieving some of the stuff that I was like, oh, I didn't even know if it was possible. I let it go. A lot of the stuff I let go. I'm like, I don't even believe that exists, because I'm like, yeah, this is a game. Like, this is all like, there's a whole bunch of lying happening. I got like really suspicious of everything. I'm like, I don't believe in any of that stuff they're talking about in like starseed stuff. Like now I just like started questioning everything. I'm like, I believe nothing. I got like really skeptical about everything. But then when I started doing this whole technomancy thing and, found out like a lot through navigating the hyperdimensional realms, started getting all these codes, and I started getting all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, this does work. You just need to have the right coding for it. So I'm like, interesting. So that's what my new book is about. It's going to be 88, because it's all about 8. I'm on 8 time. I couldn't balance the polarity enough to hold the frequency of 8 for the collective, but now it's all about 8. It's 888 88888. But you must to get through that infinity portal of 8. Polarity must be integrated. You must become no one, be null. Okay, that means you can't be holding a lot of baggage. This is why I'm also going really big on this whole karma thing right now. Because you can't go nowhere if you have karma on you. You can't. I was just reading this whole thing. I'll put the book the next time I post on Patreon. I'll give y'all the book title. So I found this book on Scribd. I forgot the name now, but it's basically this guy who was talking about monadic integration, but from the standpoint of somebody who's already been initiated in masonry. So this guy was really clear. He broke it down. And let me just explain what monadic integration is for for, because it's not something that you hear a lot about, but the monad is supposed to be like God consciousness. Really what it is it's just like a more sophisticated, it's like the singularity. It's like the super conscious mind. You just have more access to information. That's really what it is. Like you have more access to information and you have the frequency bandwidth to hold it without fracturing. Because a lot of times, like, some of this information needs to kind of come like an IV drip, like you can't just overload, you can't overload your consciousness with a lot of this stuff. You'll fritz out. But the idea of like monadic integration is this idea where you don't fritz out. You just have access to all this stuff. You don't, it's not like you studied it in a book or read it in the book, but you know it and you just know the right things to do, not because you should, but you're just in your yes, like you, and then life is easier and then you're getting these amazing ideas and it's like, wow, I just need to receive this and be in flow and this will happen. Like it's, and it's all about signal. So back to the TV, okay? Your antenna, what's your antenna doing? Can your antenna pick up the signal? You know how like you change the station and like you're like on the AM station? That's what the monad is for a lot of people right now. You're on AM radio. That's what it sounds, that's what the monad is. I know that. I know how that is. And I know how it is to like want to spiritually evolve and do all the things the light workers say and then like still be like not getting there, And that's because I'm not going to go into full depth about what I've been learning about that yet, but that's for a very specific reason. I'll just keep it like that. Up is down and black is white, y'all. Just remember that. We live on the game board of polarity. That's all I'm going to say about that. So anyway, I know how it is to like, oh, but I followed all the rules and it didn't work out. Why? Why is life unfair for me? So I get that. That's why I'm really big on this whole game maker energy right now. It's like the way I was thinking about it was in high school, I couldn't stand Shakespeare. I have never read a full Shakespeare manuscript and I never will well, let me not say never. Now I feel like I have to do it because I just said never. That's the other thing about polarity integration. It's like if you are too polarized on one side, then you have to constantly merge the opposites. This is how you prevent the pendulum swing of negative stuff happening to you. You just have to constantly balance the opposites. So you're in a state of null, so you can move with ease. That's another thing. So it's like if you're too good, if you're the good person, the pendulum will swing back on you because you're in a realm of polarity. So you will get a whole bunch of people hating on you because you're a good person. So you need to be prepared for that. So how do you balance the shadow of that so it doesn't bleed into your actual timeline? That's why art is really important. Having a creative outlet is so important for this. Yeah. So anyway, all that to say, I'm reading this book, right? This high level Masons talking about monadic integration. And he is like, the way he's describing it, y'all, is like getting into like Harvard University. That's what it feels like. Not even that. It's like Harvard University, but then there's like an elite collection of fellows after. Like it's that intense. Okay. And let me tell you what he's talking about with karma. Okay. So first of all, you have to be initiated. You have to be picked for initiation, which means you're vetted already. You're vetted. You have to pay dues. So he's already like, he's talking to people who have already done that. But then he's like, okay, but then you have to make sure you are in good standing karmically. It's like your transcripts. Did you take the right classes? Like that sort of stuff. Did you pay? Like that's your karmic standing. Then he starts going more into monadic integration, but you can't even get there with because you have to be null. You have to be 0 points. That's all karma is polarity. If you're too polarized, you're not getting through. Even somebody who spends incarnation after incarnation being an angel that is giving people gifts every day, feeding the homeless, you will never get off that game board. You are at a karmic debt. It's a game board of polarity. So we think that karma means that, you getting good karma means you've done a lot of good deeds. But you're not looking at the law that this universe is operating on. It's operating on polarity. It's not about good deeds. Karma's not about good deeds. Karma is not about good deeds, y'all. But it's about you just want to get to a 0 point sort of energy, and I've had to look at karma in both ways to get to learn about this. Like, I had to learn about karma as like, oh, why do I have so much karma? I must have been a terrible person, like this and this and that, or I need to like chant all day and pray or whatever, or get karma clearings. And then I was like, I saw the other side of like, wow, karma sometimes just transferred onto people. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it literally doesn't matter. It'll just be transferred onto me. And the amount of time, like, you can get karmically transferred upon just going to the grocery store. Seriously, y'all. So it's all a game. It's like a point system. But you already, like, your birth chart's already saying where your point system is. That's it. Okay. So, and you start learning about this as you get into Buddhism. Buddhism is interesting. They focus a lot on karma, but you'll learn a lot about the rules of the simulation through Buddhism. But don't look at, we get too caught up in Buddha as being this like being of light who can do no wrong. There's another side to Buddha, okay? There's a wrathful Buddha. He's a straight goon, okay? Buddha can be a goon. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's just scary, okay? Like, straight up. It's that energy of like, because everything is a mirror in the simulation. So Buddha is at 0 point. So what Buddha's going to do is mirror whatever's intended back at them. Like, Buddha will not hunt anyone down. Buddha will not cancel anyone on purpose. They're in their vibe. They're at their 0 null point. But Buddha will mirror back whatever you're coming at. Like, that's a very intense energy, and you're getting at this whole yin yang symbolism too. If you look at the yin yang symbol really is like kind of like the logo of the simulations game board, really. So if you start getting into Buddhism and you start like studying the text, not just like the cardboard cutout Buddhism, like, I'm gonna say something that might be a little controversial. I don't know. I knew something was going on with, I'm not gonna put anything out into the stream as it relates to current events or anything, because I don't want to anchor in any kind of timelines. But what I will say is, look at what Buddhists do in times of war. That is a whole ritual ceremony of the game board of the simulation. Just look at them. Just look at what's happening in times of when there's talks of war, or not even war, but let's say like instability. Look at what Buddhists are doing. They're showing you ceremonially. Okay. So you do get to a point where Buddhism is good to learn or embody, because, you will get to that null point, the being no one. And that's why Buddhists go so hard on karma, because they're telling you, like, you're not even going to get to this point until you get rid of the whole karma thing. And karma is an illusion anyway. So you don't have to hold it. But if you have a program that believes it, I had to work on that for a minute. Okay. And it wasn't until I started accessing some very, um, some very initiated information on cross and angles that I started to be able to figure out this whole karma situation, which I'll be explaining more um, in the um, in the next sacred leadership session. But it will be it as it all relates to karmic like not karmic. I'm not going to call it karmic family. I'm going to call it the archonic family structure. You will have beings who are your family that I'm sure are great people and they have a lot of great qualities about them. But what? We live in a world of polarity. So there's always another side, there's always another angle. So you will have the sweetest people in your family that literally as soon as you come into their presence, boom, karmic load. It just is. Boom, virus. Boom, oh, something messed up in your life. Oops. They're like in the game. They're like, you're trying to level up. Oh, you think you're going to advance? You think you're going to be better than this? Oh, no. Karma. Accident. Like weird shit like that. Yes. Yes. But that's not, it doesn't mean they're bad people. It's just, they're on a game board. Like that's the family structure is a very essential piece of the game board staying exactly as it is. It's of an archonic nature, meaning what I mean when I say that, it's not negatively talking about the family as a whole. What I'm really trying to say is if we go based upon the Gnostic conception of what the archons represent, they created the simulation. And what the Gnostics say is they say that they want to keep us entrapped. I don't believe that, actually. That's one way to look at it. Another way is they can literally teach you a lot of stuff that you need to know that no priest is going to teach you, no guru is going to teach you. So, but the family structure was created the way it is now. It's created to keep people on linear time. I've been kind of saying it, but I haven't really been, I'm trying to, I know it's hard. Look, it's hard to accept. Okay. I've seen it all. I've seen a lot. I haven't seen it all, but I've seen a lot. I have seen a lot. So I get it. Yeah, nothing surprises me. I'll put it like that. Nothing surprises me. So at some point, there will be a choice. Are you going to be the sacrifice? Or are you going to sacrifice yourself for yourself, like Odin did, making himself gray on the game board? Yeah. But we have so many social controls around what family is, what it should be, what we should be to family. And literally in the construction of our birth charts and everything, it was already decided who would be the sacrifice, who would thrive, who would have it more easier, who would be the person who would carry the karmic luggage, who would be the one to cross. Like all of that was already predetermined. You had no agency in that, Well, okay, maybe you did. Because there's that whole thing around like, oh, we chose our incarnation and we chose everything. I'm not going to say that's not true. I'm going to say that there's another side to it. Yeah. So I'm not even going to say that that's not true. But, I say it like this. Even if I did, let's say that I was, in a room. First of all, we don't know how the choosing happened. Maybe it happened under duress. Who knows? How many times does that happen, right? Oh, well, you chose it, but you had to choose it because you were, something else was going on, right? But let's just say that I was in a really good mood. I was really clear on the day that I planned my whole existence out. Okay. And was like, yeah, I want this person to do this to me. So, cause then I'll learn about universal love when that happens. And then I want this to happen like that. And then I want to have this trauma because it's going to help me with that. Okay. Let's just say I did that. You're telling me I can't change my mind? You tell me I can't grow and learn and decide I want to do something else? What kind of sense does that make? That's where I'm coming from. It's like, okay, sure. What if I did create it? But what if I want to do something new now? Am I just bound? And who am I bound to? Who decided to do the binding? Like, I have questions. So yeah, these are the sort of things that you get into, you know? Let me see what people are saying. Sorry, I riffed. I went on a huge riff. Hold up, let's see. Okay. Life with Lisette. Since starting Black Diamond, I've had to face my deepest wounds around family, food, health, and my mother. Whew, yes, me too. Literally, I'm going through it too. It's definitely a game changer, but not easy. This Crossroads energy has shaken it all up. Okay, that's great. So let's go with that comment first, because this goes into this concept of the archonic family structure. I don't know how, I'm going to go deep in it with y'all, but yeah, I think this will in one day, whatever school looks like, I don't know what school's going to look like in the times to come. Um, I actually think that they might look more like quests. I think that more people are going to catch on to this concept of the world, like this universe being gamified, and it's like a part of a simulated concept. And I think that is what the quote awakening is for people to see that. And there's a phase in the quote awakening that's happening where people need to consciously reverse engineer the game board live on the fly and get, we just collectively figure it out. Yeah, because I think that is, I've been thinking a lot about the happy medium. You know how like a lot of times we have to compromise. It's always like, oh, life is compromise. What they're really saying is life is polarity. Like this universe that we're in is a one of polarity. So when they say life is compromise, it's like one person's going to want one thing because we're in polarity, and then the other person's going to want another thing. So the idea is to come to this like middle ground, right? So both people can maybe not be fully happy, but not be fully upset about the outcome, right? So I've been thinking about that a lot, this happy medium. And I realized I needed to come to a sort of middle ground with my path because I spent so much time being the warrior. I got that warrior energy in me, I've been the warrior, I've been the fighter, I've been the paradox, the one to say something different just because other people are saying the other thing. Like I've been that, and the one that's like, I'm going to do things my way, I'm going to do the things the way I want to do it. I'm going to have sovereignty. I'm going to have agency and freedom. Like I just been stomping around the simulation like that for the past few years. And I've just come to a collective understanding since kind of going more on this monadic integration process where I'm like, me being so polarized against the game board keeps me on the game board. There comes a time where you got to play. How you play is up to you, but there does become a time where you come to a level of acceptance. Yeah, maybe the rules aren't fair. Yeah, maybe you disagree, but you got to play. So it's like, all right, let's dance. Let's play. Let's do it. But we're going to do it, game maker style. So that's what I think the future of education holds. I think a happy medium to this whole Earth School program thing that's happening right now. And the game is very much rigged, just like it is in school. And you think about the certain people who get scholarships or whatever, or maybe they get into a school because of a family connection, lots of reasons. There's lots of ways that the game can get rigged. We see it daily. It's easy to look at that. So yeah, but a happy medium would be, well, can people play with the actual instructions? like the actual like fine print? Like, can we see that? Can we actually know what's happening instead of it just like randomly happening in dream state or just having these weird paranoid feelings? And like, can we just like play all the cards out on the table at least and then progress as a society? Like that might be really helpful for people. So I think that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, you know what? I accept that I'm in a game and there is a certain goal or desire that I have. Not desire, but there's an end game that I have that requires me exploring the game board more. And that means I need to have unrestricted access to certain algorithms and stuff. So that means, what do? I need to play to get to, I have to travel. Sometimes it's going to be beneficial to travel somewhere to get codes and information. That's what Starwalking's about, y'all. Travel has not just been me working the grids. I was thinking, like, I spent so much time denying like the whole starseed thing because I saw all the gaslighting about like some of the stuff that was going on, that I started looking at the grids. And I was all about the grids. And that's when I realized the game board. When you finally see past the grids, that's when you're like, oh snap, I'm in virtual reality. This is crazy. That's you transcending the grids, I was not expecting that. I don't know what I thought I was going to see. I don't know. Maybe I thought I was going to see some other stuff. But no, I saw that. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's weird. And you have to master different realms, it's not, the grids are not just, ascension ladder or heaven or hell. Like there's all these realms to experience. So it's a big school, Earth, this whole like concept of Earth or the universe, it's a big school, but it's still very much contained. It's only like a certain, it's like, how like those corporate towns are popping up. You have like a corporate town and like the corporation pays for everything. And so it's like, everything's there. Like you have everything. Like, why would you want to leave? But what if you want to leave, like that's kind of the energy that we're at, that we're in. So, restricted information is available depending upon what levels you achieve on the game board. You notice how like people get into a certain income bracket and get really, really interested in space, or they get really, really interested in like land, agriculture. You notice how that happens? The underworld and the celestial realm are working together simultaneously. Like there's a whole network. Sometimes, though, you need to access one star to get the information or the downloads or the opportunities to access a certain realm. Starwalking, star maps. Some people, they just had this in their DNA. They just knew this. Others had no idea. They were just in the office every day, like watching The Office. Starwalking. But they just recently, I talked about this in Sacred Leadership in the last session. They talked about how they just sent the first person in a wheelchair to the moon, or not to the moon. It wasn't the moon, but in space. So the NASA, that's what NASA said. Everything's a code, guys. So what they're saying is people who were not originally able to go to space are going to be able to go to space. Yeah, they're kind of prepping, but what's really happening is more information superhighways are opening up for people to access. And I'm going to discuss that more. The book is called The 88 Stellar Keys, A Technomancer's Guide to Starwalking. This one is going to be different because I'm playing around. I'm going to do the QR code and do like embed the sound activations. And I think I'm going to also do a meditation in there too. I'm just going to embed it in the book because I want to sell this on Amazon. But I'm like, I want this to be robust. Like, I don't want this to just be book. I want this to be an experience too. So I'm going to do that so that I can embed that in the book. But what if, just roll with me here. What if, how like you have your birth chart and they track it based upon the exact time you were born, right? That's your life because you were born at that exact time. Everything is planned out for you based upon the exact time you were born, right? And you have certain stars in your chart. So you know how we feel connected to the stars, right? So it's like, oh, well, then I'm a star seed. I'm a light worker, yeah. Okay. That's a certain curriculum track you're following within the simulations game board. And there is a huge curriculum track for the Lightworker Starseed. It's pretty big. And it's kind of hard to get out of. It's like a weird cult you have to get out of. And like I finally see the mechanics of it, so I feel really clear about it, but I'm like, oh, okay, this makes a lot of sense. Um, but okay, so that's based upon your one time of birth, that one moment in time that you came into existence. And so you know how you're attached to certain stars based on that one birth time. What happens when you go beyond your birth chart, though? What stars are you connected to then? What if, and by the way, I'm an entertainer first and foremost. I'm an artist first and foremost. So everything is really to entertain you. I'm very entertained right now too, actually. So thanks for everyone who's here. Um, so I'm an entertainer. So this is all entertainment purposes. But like, what if the stars are like operating systems or nodes of information? What happens when you go beyond your birth chart? I wonder what the possibilities are. You know, there's certain people who call themselves star seeds, right? And then they start channeling from different like planets and stars, and I'm this star seed. It's just another version of your birth chart. But like, what if you didn't have to, you could choose consciously what star you wanted to be attracted to? What? I wonder what would happen instead of just looking at Sirius all day. You notice how like we're always looking at Sirius, like Sirius this, Sirius that, Sirius that. That's really just tapping into one node of information. There's a lot of stars out here. Why we focus so much on Sirius? Like, that's the real question. But, to do that, you need to have star sovereignty and you need to be a galactic free agent. Yeah, and I've been working through that whole thing. And I've had to really learn more about archonic intelligence. Like, what is it? What's the nature of it? And balancing out my own polarity so that when I interface with it, because it's going to happen, that I am in my gray area. And so, I'm not reflecting a polarity that they're going to reflect back to me, because they're kind of like weird teachers or professors in this quote university of the simulation. Yeah, I know, it's weird. So like they're a part of the whole thing of like, okay, let's say that you chose your life, right? And you chose the lessons that you're going to have. So when you try to do something different, it's like they're going to kind of enforce. They're like, hey, this isn't what we agreed on. We had a whole like soul contract meeting where we decided that this was going to happen. And you're like backing out on it. That's when the archonic family structure is going to come. Because it's like you made those agreements, but maybe it was just for that life track. What if you want to do something different? It's like when we get into this concept of travel and restricted travel. Like just because you're born in a country, what if you want to move to another country? Oh, you're not able to? You have to stay in that country? But this is what you're going to have to deal with in the archonic family structure. And you need to be ready for it, because they're going to come for you. And they're going to use everything. They're going to know your weak points. They're going to know exactly what's going to make you cry, put you back into your inner child. You need to be ready for it. And you need to be sovereign and not be polarized. A lot of people might need to like take some time away from the family, to do so. And because like, otherwise it's going to feel like you're being hazed all the time. You don't have to live life that way. But if you're going to choose something different, if you're going to choose another algorithm or another space to go into, then if you're around like an archonic family structure and you haven't balanced out your polarity, they're going to be mirroring it back to you. Because it's like a part of this program of like, okay, well, you can only go to that space if you've mastered these things. So it's like, yeah, you can leave, but like, did you quote master these things? But then all of these like things that you're mastering, they have these little glitches in them, or maybe you're never supposed to master them. So it's really weird. It's a weird house of mirrors. So I'm gonna like be going in depth with the archonic family structure. I believe this will be taught in schools one day. It's a part of this. It's a part of the game board of the simulation. It is. So this is why, and this, some people are really here to balance and merge polarity. Maybe you're meant to do that. Well, then you would have been in a life script of extreme polarity in your household, turbulence in your household to like master those things. Is that right? Like, does it have to be that way? I don't believe that it needs to be painful. Like, I don't think that's a requirement. Some people want that, but not everybody does. So I think right now we're in an interesting space of not judging how other people live or what other people want, but like having an honest conversation with us, like ourselves. What do I want? What feels good for me? What's my yes? And being okay with living in your yes. But, the archonic family structure is going to come full force for you. Like if your yes could be their no. And so, but it's also a test and it's a weird game. It's like a gamified morality tale that you're moving through. It's like, this is why people go on a hero's journey when they wake up, quote unquote, because then it's like your program's turning on. Up, your hero's journey starting. There you go. And then some people they do their villain's journey. Okay, your villain's, like, some people literally like they're on the game board right now to be a villain. They're in there, yes. And they do have a certain role to play. So but yeah, Starwalking is knowing that you're sovereign. Like you have the right to move freely. That's you stepping into God consciousness or game maker mode. Yeah. So, but the archonic family structure is holding a lot of people up. It's a lot. I get it. Look, I get it. But it's something we have to collectively work through. And it does mean discussing. The only way to do this in a way that where the information's out is to explain the nature of reality, which is a simulated game board. At least, yeah, this construct that we're in. So, but we haven't been taught that. So that's a great place to start. It's not trying to fix anybody. It's not trying to like judge anybody or, put yourself above anybody. It's just say like, look, this is actually how things work, literally. Not what you were taught in school. Like, no, this is like the new curriculum. So that's kind of like what I'm interested in right now. So I'm like, so it's brought me back to this whole academic energy that I thought I really put behind me. But now I'm like merging the opposites and creating a gray area. So, oh, but grays are bad. Oh, wait, in Starseed community, the grays are bad. Nobody wants to be around a gray. See how they do? All the time. It's just fun and games all the time. Always messing with people. Okay, let's see. What else are people saying? Let's see. Okay, I'm just catching up. Oh, okay. Okay, so Lulu said, I've watched a few episodes of Westworld. I need to rewatch. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to rewatch it though these days. Ironically, but they do have like a lot of good YouTubers that are doing the whole like summarizing it and getting all the key points. You could do that. That's what I did when I was like trying to get some codes and stuff. Focus on like that scene. There's like a whole scene where she's walking a labyrinth, and her programmer, the creator of her, is taking her through this labyrinth and walking her through this labyrinth. It's like they're telling, media tells you all the time. That's the part of the curriculum of the school of this planet, is like, oh, but we're going to tell them all the time. So they're always giving hints. They don't want you to fail. They just want to make it a riddle for you. They it's like the polarity of it all. Like that's what they're going to do. So they're not going to be completely nice. They're not going to be completely malevolent. They're just going to mirror to you what you haven't polarized or what you haven't balanced out. And that's your lesson. You merge the polarity, then you can supposedly, still investigating this, supposedly once you merge and balance the polarity, then, that's it. Like they leave you alone. We'll see. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so focus on that labyrinth scene that they do. Okay, let's see. Ironically, my late friend told me that I've always thought it was interesting that we used to watch it together. She explained to me that the characters in the show basically wake up. Yeah, because you do. It's like a weird consciousness thing you go through. It's like, because, am I real? Like, what was real? What is real? But yeah, like that, the Westworld thing, when you're really starting to like contextualize it, that's a good show to look into for sure. Okay, Alicia asked, does technomancy equals technomagia or no? I hope this doesn't sound silly. I'm just the beginner in astrology, but zero in numerology for now. Zero in receiving any info. Can't hear my intuition a lot of times. Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, you're right. Okay, so technomancy, yeah, it's a form of magic. It's a form of magic through technology. And techne is rooted in art and craft and skill. And really, that's what archonic intelligences are. They're crafty. They're crafty. You notice, like, a spider is crafty. They're crafty. They like to make things. That's why they're builders. That's why they're, like, focused on angles and all that stuff. Archonic beings, they love gadgets. They just love gadgets. Tinkering with gadgets. Like, there's always a gadget for something. That's all archonic. Yeah. But it's not negative or like, it's actually great. You can learn a lot. I've been learning so much. I just know, like, I'm a galactic free agent and like I'm doing my own thing, like, yeah, that's all I know. Like, I'm not gonna hate on archons. They've been teaching me a lot. It's like you can look at them as your jailers, or you could look at them as architects. Like, oh wow, you're an architect. Okay, so it's like that show. I'm telling y'all, they put it in all the shows because this is like their school. They're doing a school game thing with us. It's like a school, quote unquote, but it's really a game because the school's not actually. How do I say this? I don't know if the school is designed to make people, quote, better. I don't know what their end game is for this whole thing. That's what I don't know. But they put it in all the shows. So in that show, The Good Place, where the main characters, they think they're in heaven, but they find out that they're in hell. And there are these architects who are also like demons that are like constructing their hell for them, but they're making it look like heaven. They're telling them it's heaven, but it's really their hell. And and then because they thought they were good people, but they were really actually terrible according to these architects of their hell. But then they come to find out that there's a flaw in the way their point system is. That actually, according to the point system, no human being has been able to make it to heaven or the good place in a long, long time, like thousands of years. And what's happening is because their point system is like not actually accounting for real life. Like, there was this one guy who got all these downloads. I guess he like went on a DMT trip or something like that, or an acid trip, and got all these downloads about what the afterlife was like. And he tapped in to their point system. And so he came back from his drug trip and was like, I need to be really good so I can get into the good place. And so it was like funny because the architects, they heard about this guy and they're like, oh my God, he's so good. We love him. He's like our favorite student in class. So they finally get a chance to meet him and see how he's living to stay good. And he's like, has a terrible life because he's constantly like a pushover, and just, he doesn't eat because he's afraid to like harm things. Like, he lives a very substandard life because he wants to get into the good place. But he's like, no, I have to do this because this is your guys' point system. And if I don't do this, then I won't get into the good place. But then when they go and they look at the whole files, even he isn't getting into the good place because of all of the ways that society is constructed to earn karma. And then when they go to the good place people, they're like, they have no desire to change it. They're like, oh, well, we need to go through this bureaucracy, but like maybe in 500 years we can come up with a report to give you. Like, it was a whole structural issue. You know, it wasn't about the actual people who. So anyways, they put that in the good place. So the way I'm seeing it is like they're rolling out all this stuff around ETs and, you know, life on other planets, and then they're sending people in wheelchairs to space and everything because they want us to. And then they created this space force. They want to get us comfortable with this concept of space, because, and then that's why you're hearing more star seeds, and that's why galactic astrology is coming out. But space, all it is like more access to information highways. That's really all it is. You know, like, though, and those programs could take you to some really interesting places and interface with some really interesting beings. But you're in a another game or another aspect of the game board. You get to buy another game and do that. Like, it's all about like data and who has access to data. That is so critical. So even like star seeds who think that they're interfacing with like, I'm not saying that they're not, like they are, and you know, because they believe it, you know, but the star seeds who are interfacing with like this one constellation, yeah, because you're wired towards this one constellation. But what if you could choose which constellation you tap into? You don't have to be chosen. What about that? That's what Starwalking is, y'all. Stay tuned for the 88 stellar access keys. I will be talking more about that. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, Lulu says she's going to see where she can watch it. So, oh, Alicia Average. Okay, I've been putting out lots of random shorts about technomancy. Okay, so if you just type in technomancy shorts, or if you go on my shorts, just watch like all the ones labeled technomancy. Just watch it. You know, you'll get it in like 10 minutes. You'll get all because it's basically like, imagine if we were in a video game, right? You would need supplies. You would need skills. You would need empowerments. So technomancy is gaining those things, like knowing that you're in a simulated world. You know, but yeah. So and so I'm working on like making comparisons to things that we learn about in spirituality, because there's always a technomantic equivalent. That's how, I mean, I started mapping this stuff out. I'm like, oh, there's vampires in technology code. Okay, there's zombies in code. There's ghosts in code. You know, it's like, oh wow, okay. So maybe when we're talking about that, we're talking about something else too. Okay, Leslie says, do you think deprogramming and reprogramming quantisophy is safe? I don't know what that is, quantisophy. I want to learn though. It's the most challenging thing to do is deprogram myself. Oh, okay. Yeah. But you know what? We get so caught up in having the experts figure it out for us, right? Like, well, I'm not certified in that. By the way, I'm not a doctor or a medical professional and this is only for entertainment purposes only. Like, really am an entertainer. Please don't say anything of like, this is just me doing a monologue. That's it. I'm doing a monologue. That's it. Performance. Okay. That being said, you get to a point where like you can wait on the experts, but what if they're never coming? You could wait on the savior, but what if like the savior is never coming like out externally? Like what if that's just not a part of the like the programming of the game that you're on? Like it's just never, you're just supposed to loop constantly. No? It's like that what they talked about in The Matrix. I think it was like the first Matrix where there was that guy who got free, but then he wanted to go back into the Matrix and he was like, it's too hard. Just give me some money and let me be in the Matrix, man. They did it too in the Office Superfan episodes. Like they did this whole prank on Dwight, and they, you know, normally this prank would have worked on him, and you know they're like, yeah, you're in the Matrix, Dwight, and you know you can take this pill and just everything stays as normal, or you can take this other pill and you can go on this epic adventure and decode and hack the Matrix. And then Dwight just was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna just stay. Like, even if this is a simulation, like I just got a good job and I just, you know, it was like kind of funny. Um, The Office is such a like a major MK Ultra mind control thing. But it's also really funny. Like it's a very weird. It's like they did some really interesting mind things in that show. But yeah, they're basically telling you because like the Office always danced on that. Like, is this really real? Is this really happening? You know, they did that with the reactions to the camera and stuff. And then it was a reality TV show. Like they got really close. So they danced that line a lot in The Office. But then, you know, it was almost in that episode, which they ended up cutting. You can only find it in the Superfan episode when they had that scene with Dwight. It was almost like them saying, like, yeah, like you are in the simulation, but like just it's too hard to do the other thing. So just stay here. It was they're really blunt about it. So all that to say, you know, it just depends. It depends on your comfort level. For me, I had to do it for like my own. Otherwise, I would just feel like a caged tiger my whole life. You know, like I just realized like there's something I'm not accessing that I know I have an ability to, which is why I'm feeling frustrated. So I just had to do it just because like it's my yes to do it, you know? Like, and this is a conversation. Actually, you have to have this a lot on your path because you're in one algorithm and you're trying to get to another algorithm. Whereas you encounter somebody and you guys are in that same algorithm, but you may not have the same goals or desires or, you know, thing that you want to do. So at some point you might need to jump algorithms and not be on that algorithm anymore. It's like this is the crossroads. Sometimes you have to leave people at the crossroads. Sometimes you can jump the crossroads together, but a lot of times you have to leave. I mean, the only way you can jump the crossroads with somebody is if y'all are both are at 0 point. Ooh, now that's romantic. All this other stuff, nope. But yeah, otherwise, a lot of times you gotta like, and you know, there's so much program, so much fear around being alone, being lonely, being alone with your thoughts. But that's like such an illusion, y'all. But I get it. You know, it's something I had to go through because we're unlearning. Codependency is an archonic is a part of the archonic family structure. It's to keep you right where you're at. So this is all like, yeah, I'll be going more into this on the February thing for Patreon on the archonic family structure. There are rules in the game board. And if you really look at these rules on a piece of paper, I don't know if I'm going to write them out yet, but like what I've been getting, I'm like, dang, that's cold. Because also rules change depending upon what game board you're in. So like, that's why the elite people, like, they're so ruthless. That's their game board, y'all. You have to be at a certain operating mode in some of these algorithms, so be careful. Okay? You can end up in the wrong algorithm and it cannot go well for you, you know? So, yeah, like there's a whole thing. That's why, like, I think, quote, justice, quote unquote, would be just like, just let us know exactly what's going on so we can make conscious decisions. Let's just have all the fine print. Because if you had the fine print for things, you would be like, wow, you know? So, yeah, this is why the deprogram, but yeah, it is scary and dangerous. But for me, when I like, it wasn't even a question for me. It's more dangerous for me to limit myself. There are people out there where it's like, yeah, like if you aren't like in your yes, like that's it's just a terrible existence, you know? I've tapped into past lives too. What helped me was like when I tapped into other past experiences I've had where I was the person who did everything that society told me to do and I was pissed. Like I was successful, like, you know, I was accomplished by all rights and accounts, but I didn't fully go for the gusto. And I left dreams on the table. You know, I made compromises I didn't want to make. And I saw how I was at the end of my life. And I was angry and bitter. And I'm like, I will not. I will not. So I think that was another thing. I think that's something, you know, look at your past lives too. If you can have a understanding of what happened to you in other timelines, it will make some choices a lot easier for you to make that might be more difficult, you know? So, anyways, I saw the cost or remembered the cost of, you know, playing it safe to stay safe. And I was like angry about it. Like it wasn't helpful to do that. So, yeah, you know, and so to me, that's dangerous. So it's also about like, well, what is danger? What does danger mean for you? It's like what algorithm are you on? What algorithm do you want to be on? Like it could mean different things. You know, it's multidimensional. Life was this Lisette. I needed that reminder. God bless you, girl. Oh, thank you. Game maker bless me. The game maker in me sees the game maker in you. Okay, so the houses in astrology are like gates to the stars, but we need to deprogram them in order to gain access. Oh, that's a good way of looking at it. You know, that's a part, like, I think that's one aspect of it. I think you might really be onto something there that, like, I've been putting together, but I've never actually said. And I think you just said it, girl. Okay, because that would actually make sense because, yeah. Because I've been setting up this conversation for the Starwalking thing. Um, and that's the thing. I'm getting this information channeled like in real time, y'all, and I'm just doing it, you know. And then it's like, okay, did it work? I'll know if it worked, you know, pretty quickly. And yeah, that's kind of how this has been going down. It's not like I'm learning as I go. And then I'm sending it out. So sometimes like straight up, every book I've written, it's because I needed to overcome something or I needed to coach myself through something. And it wasn't I was tapping into different aspects of the monad to do it. Um, yeah, when I write a book, it's like a monadic call. It's a call to my monad. And then I learn it through it because I always do practices as I'm writing, you know? So it's like I'll do the writing and then I'll be creating some art as it relates to, I'll be synthesizing the same information in different ways. So then I'll go through that chapter, you know, like either through a subliminal or through a meditation or like whatever. And then I'll report back, you know, because I can't just write about it because I don't believe in just like, okay, well, I'm just going to channel it and then send it. Because it's like, no, I want to feel it. I want to know it. So, yeah, so I'm going through this now. So I've been working with the monad or my monad, whatever, or, you know, the super conscious mind to position myself for galactic sovereignty and what that looks like. And it started on ground because I was trying to do the traditional like chakra way that wasn't working. So it started on the ground as like learn about the grids, go under them, like learn as much as you can about the underground stuff. So that like led me into the underworld sort of stuff. That's what like a lot of the architect was about. Oh, the first book I wrote, The Grand Culture Detox, that was like literally me being on the hamster wheel and like waking up as I'm on the hamster wheel and like, okay, how do I get off this hamster wheel? So that's how that book came. Then found myself like in this weird underworld thing, trying to get out of these underworld traps, and then like getting into the back end code of the simulation. Did that one. That was a hard one. Then the Beyond Your Birth Chart. I had a lot of resistance with that, but not as much as the architect has heard. That one, I had been working on the birth chart things like leading up to it for a long time. You have to generate a lot of energy for that. Um, And yeah, so I went through that with the Beyond Your Birth chart. It was really clear that I did not want to talk about the zodiac constellation. And, but then I felt like a drag with Beyond the Birth chart. I'm like, okay, yeah, like I declare my sovereignty. I know how this system works, but I'm still feeling this interference. That's when the technomancy of hyperdimensional warfare came out because, and I had channeled this energy a long time ago, this blue energy, this blue, I guess you would say Melchizedek sort of energy. I don't know. Or what they would call the star seed, one of those, like the indigo energy. And like this being was training me in my dream state, like some really advanced, like warfare tactics. I couldn't keep up. My consciousness could not keep up. I remember like I remember like trying to take notes as they're talking, and like that would happen too. People in my dreams would like come by and be like, "Okay, so you need to do this." Blah, blah, blah. And I'd just be like, "I can't understand you." Or like I would be like, "Okay, yeah, I remember." And then literally I'd wake up and be like, "I don't remember." So anyways, it's just cuz your signal isn't clear. Like you're in the AM radio side of things, you just need to get your signal clear. So anyways, this being came on hard. I was ready. I was like, all right, I got it, let's go. And so then that's when I like we got into the more of the hyperspace sort of realm, which is like kind of more of like your, yeah, if you're not coded to know that information, like good luck, you're not going to know it. So anyways, yeah. And so now anyways, this whole like Starwalking thing is coming up. It just, oh my gosh, it just happened. It happened really hard. It was intense. Not in a bad way, just like, whoa, okay. But it's because I've been unlocking other parts of the game board, y'all. It's a game board. Um, it's not that I'm a better person. I'm more refined now, sure. I'm more skilled, but I'm not more deserving, you know. I just like had to spend a lot of time like learning things and troubleshooting and all of that. And yeah, the game is rigged, and like learning the game is rigged, and learning to be like an artist during this process, and like literally create the game as I'm going, as well. Like there is space to do that. That's the thing that they don't teach you in school and all that. Yeah. The hit, if you just follow the school curriculum of Earth, like you'll just, yeah, it will be like a prison for you. But then there are these like other ways to work the game board, which are actually kind of fun. Um, yeah. So that's kind of what I'm exploring now. That's what Star Walking's about. Some people will never learn that aspect though, because they have so much karma, and that by design. You have to like get into that 0 point. You do need to go to the cross. That's why the New Age to Jesus stuff is coming, you know. They're telling people you need to cross. No, not you need to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, but you need to, you know, merge the polarities of that axis. Um, like, okay, think about the cross, right? There's a middle point in a cross. If you like are in a geometry class, you'll see that axis, right? That middle point is what's known as the bindi or the black dot. that's like when you go into space, or quote unquote, like you go into like nothingness. Like you're not on the game board anymore, you know? So, um, but you have to go through certain rings, and it's like if you go prematurely sometimes, it's not saying you can't, like, yeah, try it, you know, but yeah, there are, you'll know, this is why you have to like start learning to trust your intuition. You know, the oracle cards help, you know, DIY oracle decks. I have a few of them. I have like 3 of them on Patreon, and then I have one that I'm selling on my PayHip account that you can see. But they help you if you're, if you don't know, like if you are having issues with discernment, you know, that's what like those sorts of systems are for. And I'd make them DIY so you can also create with them. So you're not, so you're in game maker mode. You know, it's also a way to like train you to like get into that game maker mode sort of energy. If you get like an oracle deck that's just like boxed up, sometimes that's cool, but like for this sort of path working, you need open space. So, you know, you throw away cards when you don't need them, or you add cards when you do need them. Like, or you know, I get out of decks. I actually think I'm getting out of this deck. I didn't even realize it was going to be so quick, but um yeah, I think I need to create another one. You know, you don't want to get stuck in the same cycles. So you always kind of want to like be, yeah, taking in new information and finding ways to quote level up. And I say that in big quotations because it's not all about, it's also about going down too. It's not about, don't like every everything is happening simultaneously. So when something's happening up, it's happening down too. So if you get too caught up in the stars, you're missing something. But sometimes you need to go through the stars to activate things underneath as well. So that's another thing like related to star walking. So it's like if you're walking down the street, we're usually just taught to look at what's ahead of us on the street, right? You don't really look up at the sky when you're walking down the street, usually. But star walking is this concept that you are on a street, but whatever like star constellation that's above you is also a part of that street. It's a part of your reality interface. And I've tested this a few times. You know, I've gotten certain direct channelings or downloads about very specific information. And then I'll take out my Star Walk app, and lo and behold, I look up and it's that constellation that I'm getting. You know, I got a whole serpent initiation like under the serpent's constellation. I didn't plan for it, but I was like, oh, this is happening. You know, I'm tuning in to the information of these stars, and they're giving me the codes. They're telling me everything I need to know about the serpent. Okay. You know, so and I was able to do that more and more as like my signal got clearer. So that's kind of like what star walking is. You can use it in your like day-to-day life for things, but you also, you know, if you're on a certain, let's just say that this life is a game board and you have a particular curriculum, or you have particular lessons to learn, or there's something you want to experience, you know, you might need to get information from another star or a set of stars, you know. um yeah, so anyway, that's what that's about. Okay, so Life with a Set said, I literally just got the laundry hung up. Oh my God, and I've gained so much weight, I can't even fit them. Holy shit. Oh, yep, there you go. Oh, this is a lot. This, I'm way back on the comments. Yeah, just let them go. You are abundant. You will get more jeans. Maybe you're not wearing jeans for a bit. Like, you know, oh my gosh, it's not as serious as we think. Like, there are so many potentialities. He said, like, I couldn't even sort through it for a while. It's been challenging. Had to get on some mental health meds and triation. Yeah, but, and sometimes you need to, also, it's just like, wherever you're at, just like accept where you're at and try to like merge the polarity. So like people can get like really judgy, oh, you're on prescription, blah, 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 you didn't do it the natural way. Like that's too much in polarity, like if like the meds are helping to keep you more in like a balanced state for you to do what you need to do, like there is no shame in that. Okay, recently had a dream about not going to school on time, and I was dreaming way too much about celebrities for a while too there. Yeah, it means that yeah, you're failing a lesson apparently. You're failing a lesson, or you're something's going wrong in your lesson, but you need to like really question everything and be a skeptic. It's good to be skeptical sometimes. I'm in my skeptic mode right now, while I'm exploring these like really uh, fringe topics. I'm being really skeptical about it too. Um, yeah. Okay. You're welcome, Angel of Freedom. Oh, ice. Oh my goodness. Ice. I wonder what the code to. Ooh. I just got a download about what that is. I'm not going to say it here. Okay. Got you. All right. So, yeah. Ice. Mm-hmm. Yep. Think about the code behind that. That's what I will say. Think about the code behind that. Um, yeah, that's tough. That is tough. Like, my question is there a way for you to interface less with those energies? Like, are there creative ways? If you feel like you're too caught up in those energies, are there ways for you to not be in those energies anymore? That would be the question that I would ask to see what unfolds. So right now you feel really boxed in and it's like really causing a lot of anxiety and stress, right? But like, is there a way for you to not literally have to deal with them anymore? Like straight up. Like it's not a concern. I wonder, you know? Because it's like, where is this happening? Why is this happening? Is there a place where this is not happening? Do you know what I'm saying? Like travel. That's why travel is a big thing. Um, because like if this is like there's a very interesting game board happening in the United States. Like it's a very interesting game board. It's on steroids out here. It's on steroids. It's really intense. So the reason why people are like moving to like other countries is to like chill out. They're like, "Can I just be on another game board that's a little bit more chill? Like, please." Yeah, it's deep out. It's deep, you know? Yeah. Um, so like is there a chill out zone? So if this world is a game board, is there like a chill out zone? Is there a little bench you can sit on and have a water break somewhere? There always is. Crossroad are the crossroads and the liminal space the same thing? Yes. Yes. Liminal space, it's in between worlds. And that's what you have to do a lot of times. Like if you're navigating certain things, like certain things might be put into your environment. But if you can operate from like space of game maker, you're in liminal space. So you can create on like as you go. So it's like you could see like, oh, like I see it a lot. I'm like, okay, I see what time it is. I see what the energies are. All right, let me flip this around. And you do it. But you operate from the liminal space and nothing can be real to do that. That's the thing. Like you can't, like the crossroads, like that's not real. Like crossroads is just you crossing the street. What are you talking about? You know? So, but crossroads, that's a way of like saying like you're changing algorithms. It's an algorithmic change too. You know, it's a way to go from one stream to another, from one track. Sometimes it's a stream, sometimes it's a track, sometimes it's a grid. It just depends. Sometimes it's a spiral. There are different ways this plays out. Okay. Not feeling the greatest. I'm going to lay down. Wish I could. Oh, of course, Leslie. Yes. The Hanged Man is my personal card in the tarot. Oh, yeah. Odin hung himself for 9 days and nights, pierced by his spear, to gain the knowledge of the runes and other worlds. Yes. And he sacrificed himself for himself, meaning in order for him to get that knowledge, you know, he had to make a sacrifice, but he did it for his deeper understanding, you know? So sometimes you do need to make a sacrifice, but sometimes you need to kind of do it not in polarity. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm probably not going to be able to get to all these comments. I'm like, dang, there's a lot of comments. Hold up. I didn't realize I was that far behind. Okay, so I'm going to read this. There's a story being uplifted. It says, when you were talking about going beyond the birth chart, I just remembered a dream that I had like 2 years ago when I was in a relationship with a narc. We were playing a trivia type of game, and when I answered right, I won a pillar that they connected from my birth chart to the planet Venus. What? I don't get it. What kind of game was that? That sounds hermetic or something. I don't know. I would like really look back on that scenario. Like, that sounds interesting. Okay, is the silver body new information to you? Is that in one of your books? So the silver body, no. It's like, it's weird. It's yes and no. I've been working with this concept of the silver body. I first started doing it when I was like in this light worker thing. Okay, this is a great example of a time when I was, quote, learning a lesson or being tested in the game of life, but I didn't have all the information, so I, quote, failed or whatever. So there's this idea. Okay, so in like the light worker stuff I was studying in aligning with Earth, they have this thing called the gold and silver planes of polarity integration and karma cancellation. Because like I was saying, like I was just saying, how you can't, if you are not at 0 point, then that means because you still have like karma. So it like shows you where you're not balanced, you know? And but in the way they discussed it in aligning with Earth is like, okay, well, you can go to the gold and silver planes and you can balance this out. You know, you could balance out karma. You can cancel out karma. So I was like, all right, cool. Did it a couple times. It was feeling good. And I told this story in one of my lives a while ago. Did it another time. Got a weird doubt, like a weird, went into this weird clown realm. The polarity police people that were just like, no, you're not. They just showed me like, no, you're not designed to get rid of this karma. It's supposed to just be with you. So good luck. It's never coming off. You know, but they were really teaching me about polarity. They were really teaching me about like, you actually haven't really merged the opposites, you know? And I was getting little nudges when I was doing the light work stuff that I was like, you're not merging the opposites enough. So that was really what was being shown. But that was through gold and silver. I started with working with silver. And then, but here's the trick. There's a weird energy with gold. I had been getting this information about mimic gold, you know, like gold plated, like fool's gold. And it's been happening for like a while. And it has to do with balancing out your masculine and what that really means. And what else? Yeah, you have to like, it's a DNA thing. It's a chromosomes. It's the whole thing. I can't even fully describe it here, but it's also a trick, like maybe some people aren't meant to clear karma like that. So if you go by the exact rules that somebody's saying that it's going to work because like they did it because they got initiated into it, it might not work for you because that might not be in your algorithm. So these are just things to note. So anyway, I had been working with this, gold and silver specifically, for 3 years. But I had started getting new information channeled specifically as it relates to the moon, how the moon works, how time works through the moon, how karma works through the moon, how processing works. I was like finally understanding that. And that helped. That was that was called in through the silver body, like through stuff that I was calling in related to the silver body. So no, it's like it's old and new. I think it's like I've always known it, but I'm like remembering it, because it's like I was going about the silver and gold stuff in different ways. It was always connected to this concept of polarity integration though. Um but I had to get creative with certain things. So, but yeah, the silver thing is really good for, it's good for like clearing, like just like literally a clean signal. That's what it's good for. It cleans your signal. I started becoming a lot more in tune, like after that. Like I'm always in tune, but no, it's been different. It's been a very different. Um, yeah, like I'm not even going to talk about it. It's just it's big. Okay, but so yeah, it's kind of it's been being refined. I think like I like where it is now. That's why like I was able to create my own attunement for it because I've been tinkering with this for a bit. Definitely been using silver and subliminals for like the past at least 2 years. But like yeah, the information that I've been getting feels a little bit more refined related to it. Okay. Okay, I'll have to watch the Westworld show. My Robot was a good one for me. Mr. Robot was a good one for me personally, along with American Gods. Okay, I need to check out. I almost checked out like no, I put on American Gods. I needed to be in the right mood, like I have to be in that vibe, and I wasn't in that vibe. And also, like everything has commercials now. Like, what's going on with commercials? I don't. It's too much. But I think like I was on a thing where like it was commercials. I'm like, I just want to watch this. But I'm gonna try it again. And I haven't heard of Mr. Robot. Okay, Westworld is on Amazon Prime, but like you got wait, no. You talking about the show Westworld, the new one, is on like you don't have to buy it? You talking about you have to buy it? Or it's like streaming? Because that would be a game changer. Oh, you couldn't watch The Office. Yeah, and you loved Parks and Recreation. Yeah, Parks and Rec is cool too. Oh, you have another question? Did I turn off my memberships? You know, I did not. Like, so there's a weird thing happening with my YouTube account, and for some reason it's sourced out of London, England, and I can't change it. Well, last time I tried, that was a few months ago. But like, why London, England, y'all? Like, I don't live there. But like, they won't only give me that option of the UK. And I can never confirm my address because I'm not there, but they won't let me change it. Or like the last time, I'm like, so that was when I was going through some very interesting, like that was like right around the time I was like writing The Architect is Her. And I was still like learning about the mechanics of certain things. And yeah. And when I saw that, because they're like, oh, we can't confirm your address or your identity. So blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you know what? Keep the money. Like, it's not that serious. It was really just me testing it out because I didn't know if I wanted to monetize my YouTube. Like, I'm like, you know what? Let me just try it. Before I just didn't want to monetize it. I'm like, okay, let me just see. Let me see what happens. Um, and so like, yeah, after that, I'm like, you know what? Like, it's not like oh my gosh, I need to do this or whatever. So I'm like, let me just like let this go because I feel like I don't need the monetization like that. I'm not saying I'll never monetize, but it's like I don't know. I don't feel in lack because of it. So anyways, but I didn't turn it off. It's just like, well, I'm not gonna like do a whole extra membership content, and I'm not even gonna be You know what I mean? Like I already have like other places I can share my work. So that's kind of the why. That's the why. I haven't tried it again. I'm sure I could probably finagle it and figure it out, but I haven't been moved to do it. But yeah, I can't change my location from London, England or UK. I don't know what's going on over there to where I'm there and have to be there. But that's where I'm at. So that's why I'm not monetizing. So random story, but I'm glad you asked because I'd been meaning to like, share it, but it's like I don't want to like make a whole thing or whatever. But yeah. There's other ways for you to catch me. Catch me on Bandcamp, catch me on Patreon, catch me on, there's other ways. Patreon's preferable. And like I can back up my content in other ways there too. So that's cool. So that's like where you're going to get like the most value, I think, right now is like Patreon. But I'm also like coming up with other things that are, for people who, aren't into the membership algorithm. So I'm cultivating those as well. Oh, I have to pay to stream it on. Okay, let me look at how much it costs. Maybe because I know I'm gonna watch like all of them. So I'm like, really, like, but let me see what it is if I batch it or something. Maybe I'll get it. All right, y'all. Well, this is where I end things. As I see 8-8. I've been on here chatting it up a long ass time. I can't believe what time it is. Wow. I went somewhere. Okay. I'm back. I'm grounding in. I hope y'all have a wonderful night. And until we meet again, bye.